From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 826. Another big shot comes. Don't worry, it's okay. Su Weifeng patted Chu Xiaotu's hand gently and said in a gentle tone, "Boy, aren't you very arrogant? You don't even take my boss seriously. Today I'll see whether you are really tough or not." Xiao Shan entered the room first, staring at Su Weifeng with a smug look in his eyes. A group of people came in with a man, followed by Shibin, Nana and others. Nana looked at Chu Xiaotu and Su Weifeng nervously. She didn't expect things to turn out like this. Now she regretted tricking Chu Xiaotu here today. It seemed that today was the rhythm of the end of friendship. Moreover, she didn't want Chu Xiaotu to get into trouble. After all, they have been friends for so many years. Boy, I just said that you will regret it, but it's too late to regret it. Xiaotu, you said that this boyfriend you found has no strength and is arrogant. You really think your life is too long? Qin Fiyu said coldly, his eyes full of cruelty. However, Su Weifeng was still sitting there contentedly, not taking these people seriously at all. Even Chu Xiaotu didn't show any panic, just sitting there calmly. "Boss, look, this kid is too arrogant." Xiao Shan looked at his boss with a gloating look. Xiao Shan was also very curious why his boss hadn't made any move for such a long time. This was not right. When did the boss become so low-key? Xiao Shan saw that his boss's legs suddenly softened, and he knelt on the ground, and the few men who came in with the boss no longer had the murderous aura just now. They were like rabbits seeing wolves, lowering their heads and retreating little by little, fearing that they would be seen by others. Xiao Shan, "Boss, what's wrong with you?" "The boss's leg injury is not healed yet. It shouldn't be. The leg injury is just a lame leg. It shouldn't be kneeling." Looking at Su Weifeng, he couldn't help but feel a little frightened. Could it be that this kid Qin Fiyu? It's bad. Something happened. I kicked the iron plate. Shibin. Who is this kid? Nana. Who am I? Where am I? Could it be that Xiaotu's boyfriend is a gangster boss? The man called the boss suddenly stood up and slapped Xiao Shan in the face. "Boss Su, I didn't know it was you. I was deceived by this guy, so I came to see. I'm sorry to disturb you and sister-in-law singing. It's all because of my poor discipline of my subordinates. All your consumption today will be counted as mine. It's considered an apology. What do you think?" Xiao Shan was stunned. He went to find the boss to avenge himself. Why did the boss beat him up when he came? He was so polite to this kid, not just polite, but servile, and he also called Xiaotu sister-in-law. So the boss must know this kid and Xiaotu. This kid can't be offended by the boss. Xiao Shan's worldview collapsed a little. Qin Fiyu was dumbfounded. This kid is not simple. He thought he was just an ordinary person. Tiger Lord would definitely be able to cripple this kid. If he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. Unexpectedly, Tiger Lord was directly scared. Sister-in-law? Gangster boss? Nana looked at Su Weifeng in horror. This gangster boss has already knelt down. I just slapped him in the face. It's over. I'm going to die. Su Weifeng didn't say anything. He just smiled at the few people. At this time, there were only Nana, Xiao Shan, Shibin, Qin Fiyu and Tiger Lord in the room. Some of Tiger Lord's brothers had already slipped away. Tiger Lord glared at Xiao Shan fiercely. He was so angry. He had just been abused by this devil and extorted a lot of money. He couldn't swallow this breath. However, it was not a short time to take revenge. He had to think about it slowly. How could this newly recruited fool dig a pit for himself as soon as he came, and even took him with him? Tiger Lord had already thought about it. When he returned, he would beat this kid up and then directly fired him. He couldn't take care of this jinx. At this time, footsteps came from the door of the KTV again, mixed with the sound of high heels. Soon, a woman with a graceful figure and a charming smile on her face walked in with a black man in white. "Master Qin, what's going on? Isn't this Master Hu?" The woman looked to be about 30 years old, and her voice was charming. Although she was not young, she made the men present feel soft in their bones. Sister Yun, why are you here? Qin Feiyu was very surprised to see this woman. Hello, Sister Yun. Master Hu also greeted her hurriedly. Although he was older than this woman, he still had to call her sister. She is Sister Yun. Chu Xiaotu exclaimed in a low voice. Su Weifeng looked at Chu Xiaotu in confusion. He didn't know who Sister Yun was, and had never heard of her. Country bumpkin, you don't even know Sister Yun. This is Master Hen's man. Sister Yun is also the owner of this KTV. Qin Feiyu said with contempt. This time Qin Feiyu was proud. This Sister Yun was a more powerful and ruthless person than Master Hu. Although she was a woman, she was ruthless, and had some friendship with the Qin family. I didn't expect Sister Yun to come. And the most powerful thing about Sister Yun is that she is He Yi's woman. Who is He Yi? He is from the McAllen family. The McAllen family is a local family in Galan City, far from being comparable to an outsider family like Qin Feiyu. Qin Feiyu's Qin family is indeed a big family in China, but after all, it is a small part of the development abroad, and it has no power to compete with this local snake. Tiger is just a small follower of the Beast Gang. He was a little scared when he saw the people from the McAllen family. Sister Yun felt a little flattered to know him. Chu Xiaotu shrank back to Su Weifeng with some fear. It seems that Sister Yun knows Qin Feiyu. What if she has to deal with the boss? Sister Yun is definitely not comparable to Tiger. The boss can knock Tiger down, but how can one person fight against this local family? Sister Yun, this kid stole my girlfriend, and my friend is Tiger's brother. Tiger is here to stand up for me. Qin Feiyu didn't say anything else. What to say next? Saying that the person he found knelt directly. That face doesn't need to be saved. The little girl is pretty good. She looks like a girl in a comic book. Pretty good. I want her. You all go away. Suddenly the black man next to Sister Yun spoke. The KTV was dim, and if you didn't look carefully, you would think it was a white dress floating there. The black man's words stunned everyone in the room. Who is this person? Isn't this Sister Yun's territory? Shouldn't Sister Yun help Qin Feiyu? Since Mr. He has spoken, you all go away. Sister Yun blew a smoke ring and said casually. Tiger Master. Damn, this is Mr. He? Sister Yun's lover. You must not offend him, otherwise the Beast Gang can't protect me. Qin Feiyu. How could it be him? How could it be him? It's bad. Xiaotu has been favored by him. What should I do? I haven't touched her yet. Qiao Yushan. What's going on today? Big shots come one after another. I've heard of this He Yi. Ordinary gangs dare not offend him. He has countless deaths on his hands. I heard that he is also very lustful. We must keep a low profile today. Keep a low profile. Didn't you see that Hu Yi is shrinking to the side? Chapter 827 Q. Shibin. Can't see me. Can't see me. Nana. It's over. I've ruined Xiaotu. This He Yi is famous for being lustful. No girl he likes can escape. What should I do? What should I do? When Chu Xiaotu heard that this was the legendary He Yi, she was suddenly shrouded in fear. This He Yi liked her. What should she do? Today, the boss can't protect her. If things go wrong, the boss will be implicated. Today, I can't let him succeed. I'd rather die than live in disgrace. Chu Xiaotu is ready to die. It's better to die in glory than live in disgrace. Hu Yi and Qiao Yushan retreated directly to the side and stood upright against the wall, showing complete obedience, for fear of making He Yi unhappy. Nana wanted to say something, but she didn't dare to say it. Shibin pulled her towards the door. She regretted it in her heart, but she dared to say anything in front of He Yi. How could she dare to stop He Yi? She was an ordinary girl studying abroad. She would not know how she died. Chu Xiaotu saw that her best friend had also abandoned her. She felt lost and abandoned by everyone. Who would care about others in the face of death? Chu Xiaotu suddenly felt a big hand grabbing her. She was startled and almost jumped up. She turned around and saw that it was Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng was looking at her with a smile. Feeling the warmth from that big hand, she felt less afraid. She also held Su Weifeng's hand tightly, as if this would give her some sense of security. Leave this to me too. I want two to play with. Although it's a little short, it's not bad to make up the number. He Yi suddenly pointed at Nana and said. Nana was still worried about Chu Xiaotu, but she didn't expect He Yi to target her too. No. Nana screamed in fear and was about to run out, but was stopped by Heiyi's men and pushed down on the sofa. Nana looked at her boyfriend pleadingly. Although she knew that Shibin didn't have the strength, her only hope could only be Shibin. Shibin saw Nana's eyes and lowered his head, pretending that he didn't see it. Although Nana was his girlfriend, he couldn't offend Heiyi for Nana, or even die for Nana. He could have a girlfriend, but he only had one life. Hello, Heiyi. I'm Qin Fiao from the Qin family. Chuzio is my girlfriend. Can you let her go? Don't worry, my Qin family will definitely reward you. Qin Fiao walked to Heiyi's side and said he had liked Chuzio for so many years and couldn't bear to be harmed by Heiyi. Qin family? Haha, I'll give you some face. I'll give you these two after I'm done playing. Well, I'll give everyone a benefit today. I'll be the young master Qin, and then everyone line up. Everyone present has a share. Heiyi smiled evilly, not taking Qin Fiao seriously at all, and said casually, long live Heiyi. I'm going to kill these two girls. You line up behind me. Don't push. Everyone has a share. Heiyi is mighty. Come on Heiyi. A group of black thugs under Heiyi were eager to try, and they were excited and noisy. Today was the day to have some meat. These two girls were both beauties, especially the one over there, who was even more exquisite. It was worth dying today. Qin Fiao felt bitter in his heart. He really didn't have enough face to save Chuzio too. On second thought, he could sleep with her, which was also a regret. If it weren't for Qin being here today, it would be really hard for Chuzio to get her. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth, and his face was full of obscene colors. Thank you, Qin Fiao, you beast. Chuzio cursed angrily. Originally, she just didn't like the arrogance of this rich second generation, but she didn't expect that this was his true face, dirty and unscrupulous. Tiger Yi and others also hurried to line up on the side. This good thing can't be let go casually. Qiao Yushan followed closely behind Tiger Master. Chuzio and Nana were both beauties. Since they were his friend's women, he could only think about it. He didn't expect that they would have a chance to be together today. He would laugh even if he dreamed. As for the fact that they were in different schools, he didn't even need to think about it. Even young Master Qin Fiao didn't care. What else could he not let go of? You guys. Nana had already started crying because she saw that her boyfriend not only didn't save her, but actually went to line up. Nana looked at Chuzio. Her heart was bitter, her lips trembled, and blood came out of her mouth. She really brought disaster upon herself. Not only did she hurt Qiao, but she also hurt herself. Today, she couldn't escape it anyway. Chuzio was ashamed. She looked at a group of men who were as fierce as wolves and tigers, lining up in a line, their eyes greedily scanning her body up and down, and her saliva was about to flow out. Her hands were shaking, her heart was beating violently, and her mind was blank. Su Weifeng held Chuzio's hand, felt her pounding pulse, frowned slightly, and hugged her gently. Don't be afraid, I'm here. A warm breath blew over her ears, and she felt a man's unique breath. Chuzio's ears turned red at that time. Then she found that Su Weifeng was hugging her. Her face seemed to be burning. She pushed Su Weifeng away, but her hands were still held together. The boss is also a pervert, and he hugged me. But it's better to be the boss than to be these beasts. Chuzio thought of it, and felt ashamed and angry in her heart, secretly cursing herself for having such an idea. Boy, let go of your girlfriend. I'll give you a chance to stand in the back and play with one more. Heiyi narrowed his eyes at Su Weifeng and pointed at Nana. Why should I let you touch my girlfriend? If you want to hit my people, there will be no good end. Su Weifeng gently let go of Chuzio's hand, stood up, and said domineeringly. Chuzio widened her eyes. Although the boss is going to die, he is really handsome. Nana looked at Su Weifeng, then looked at her boyfriend and Qin Fiao, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. She also said that Chuzio was deceived by men, and would not find a boyfriend. Qiao's boyfriend is a man. Her boyfriend is nothing compared to Qin Fiao and the others. Compared with Chuzio's boyfriend, he is not a man at all. But it's too late to know this. She can't bear to see how Qiao's boyfriend died. Qin Fiao cursed in his heart, this idiot, it's better to die. He must kill him, which can be regarded as revenge for me. Qin Fiao, Shibin and Qiao Yushan exchanged glances. Through the eyes, the three of them reached an agreement. No one can tell what happened today, especially Qin Fiao and Shibin. One gave up his girlfriend, and the other gave up the woman he pursued, and then got together with these gangsters. If others know about it, they will be spit on and die. As for the two girls, they are not worried, because they know that He will not leave any troubles when doing things, and the end of these two girls will be miserable. Sister Yun has left a long time ago. What's the point of her staying here? Do you still need to cheer? Chapter 828, Dark Guard King Khan. I didn't expect that someone would dare to stop the person he wanted to play with. He had met many girls who were with their boyfriends before. Any man who knew his identity dared not agree, and they all ran away in shame, fearing that they would get into trouble. Today, he really met a stubborn one, but what's the use of being stubborn? No matter how stubborn he is, I can break him. Boy, I just want to sleep with your girlfriend, and right in front of you. What can you do to me? I said domineeringly, his face full of sarcasm. You will disappear before that. Su Weifeng smiled coldly, as if he was looking at a dead person. Beat him up, break his arms and legs, and leave him alive. Don't kill him. We have to let him watch when we play with his girlfriend later, so it will be exciting. We will bury him alive in the end. Just thinking about it makes me excited. I laughed and danced. A group of men laughed obscenely. A black man rushed over, took out a dagger, and stabbed Su Weifeng. Everyone sighed in their hearts. This guy hit too hard. This knife must have solved it. It really lost a lot of fun. Chu Xiaota screamed and grabbed Su Weifeng's collar tightly. She also reacted subconsciously, and her heart couldn't help but tighten. Bang! Su Weifeng looked indifferent. He picked up an unfinished bottle of beer on the table and smashed it directly on the black man's head. The beer flowed down the black man's face. Su Weifeng didn't stop. He casually inserted the beer bottle, which was only one section left, into the black man's chest. The black man fell to the ground in horror, and blood was still pouring out of his chest. Qiao Yushan grabbed Tiger's arm in horror. He always wanted to be in the underworld, and he knew that it was not uncommon for the underworld to kill people, but everything was just hearsay, let alone doing it himself. He had never seen it. I always thought I was very good, and I always regarded myself as a gangster in school. I didn't expect Chu Xiaotu's boyfriend to be such a ruthless person. He killed people without blinking an eye, as calm as stepping on an ant. I just wanted to beat him up, and I broke out in a cold sweat just thinking about it. A picture appeared in his mind, and the black man was replaced by himself. He subconsciously covered his chest. Chu Xiaota screamed, the boss actually killed someone, and killed for me. This time, He didn't need to say anything. A group of thugs under He rushed up. His accomplices were not sure whether they were alive or dead. No one held back, and rushed to kill Su Weifeng. 6 or 7 black men rushed over like a group of bulls. Hu Yi and others were still standing in the row honestly without moving. Hu Yi knew Su Weifeng's weight. It was hard to say whether so many black people could kill Su Weifeng, but if he went up, he would definitely be cannon fodder. A few seconds later, the group of bulls fell to the ground. Su Weifeng made a clean move, ensuring that no one was hit, no one was left behind, and no one would be able to get up for a while. Qin Fiao, is Chu Xiaotu's boyfriend still a human being? Qiao Yushan, I will never get involved in society again. People who get involved in society are all scum. Shibin, it's over. Today's over. My future is over. Heej. Sweating a little. Chu Xiaotu, the stars are bright. Nana. In a daze. Huge. Should I take a walk or wait? Anything else? Hurry up, my little rabbit is sleepy. Su Weifeng said calmly. His heart was not beating, and he was not out of breath, as if he was not the one who just made the move. Who is your little rabbit? Shameless, but why does it sound so good at this time? Call King Khan. He narrowed his eyes, and said to his men at the door. Soon a figure squeezed in. Why squeeze? It was not because there were too many people at the door, but because the figure was too huge. He had to lower his head to get in. He was more than 2 meters tall, and weighed more than 300 kilograms. He was not a fat man like a strongman, but full of muscles. His arms stretched straight and almost reached his knees. If he was not hairless, he would be a silverback gorilla. Qiao swallowed unconsciously. Is this a human or a gorilla? How can a human grow like this? This is several sizes bigger than the bear in the bar that day. Can the boss beat this gorilla? Qiao was unsure. It's King Kong, one of the secret guards of the Macallan family. The only mission of these secret guards is to kill people. King Qiao said with a trembling voice. He was also a member of the family and had heard of King Kong. The main reason was that King Kong's figure was too impactful. People who had seen him once would never forget him. It was difficult to keep a low profile. Su Weifeng looked at the chimpanzee, and the corners of his eyes twitched unconsciously. He was not afraid of King Kong, but was wondering how this person looked like this. In addition, he was black-skinned. If he went up the mountain to climb, he would be easily beaten by hunters. Others saw Su Weifeng's appearance and thought he was scared. No one would have thought that he was thinking about these messes now. So he is King Kong. It is said that King Kong's muscles are like steel, and even a knife cannot penetrate. He is no different from King Kong in the movie. No one can survive if he is targeted by King Kong. Tiger said in horror. This kind of person is not easy to see. He even had the urge to take out his mobile phone to take a picture, but he didn't dare to think about it. If he was targeted by King Kong and punched, it would be unfair. King Kong came in without saying a word and coldly swept the people around him. Those who were swept were all scared, as if they were being stared at by a giant beast, and the hair on their bodies stood up. The corners of Heeja's mouth were already grinning, as if he had seen the end of Su Weifeng's broken bones and tendons. No one was more familiar with King Kong's power than the people of the Macallan family. King Kong was found in the forest by the Macallan family. To be more precise, he was a gorilla boy. He grew up with gorillas and his living habits were no different from those of gorillas. And probably because of his eating habits and lifestyle, his body was very similar to that of gorillas, and he was extremely powerful. His muscles were as strong as steel. After the Macallan family brought him out, it took him several years to adapt to the life in modern society. His language was still not very fluent, but this did not affect him from becoming one of the strongest fighters in the Macallan family. When he grew up, King Kong really fought with the silverback gorilla, but in the end, they were evenly matched and no one could do anything to the other. This shows how powerful he is. Kill that kid for me. Don't kill him first, just keep him alive. Heej looked at Su Weifeng angrily. King Kong did not answer, but stared at Su Weifeng with his eyes, and walked towards him step by step. King Kong stared at his prey closely, but the prey gave him a strange feeling. There was no fear or anger, just calmly waiting for his approach, which made him feel irritated. King Kong clenched his fists, and the clothes on his upper body burst apart, turning into pieces flying all over the sky. The muscle lines on his body bulged like steel bars, and with his dark skin, he looked like a metal statue. King Kong raised his shiny black fist and smashed it towards Su Weifeng. Although he looked bulky, his punching speed was not slow at all. The black giant fist smashed towards Su Weifeng like a meteor hammer. Su Weifeng also wanted to try whether King Kong had the strength of a chimpanzee. Su Weifeng did not dodge and punched King Kong's fist with the same punch. Qiao subconsciously covered her mouth, otherwise she would really scream out. This fist was bigger than her head, and the boss did not dodge, but went head on. Qiao was anxious, but it was too late. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 829 Two Monsters. Qin Qiao and the others were also worried. Their eyes widened, ready to watch Qiao's boyfriend being killed by this punch. Their hearts filled with pleasure. A loud bang came from the place where the two fists collided, as if two shells hit each other. After a loud bang, Su Weifeng took 3 steps back to stabilize his body. Now he only felt that his whole arm was a little numb. He put his arm behind his back and moved his fingers. Others could not see the movements behind Su Weifeng's arm, but Qiao could see it clearly. Is the boss okay? This gorilla is basically a monster. No matter how powerful the boss is, he can't beat the monster. If he continues to fight, the boss will be beaten to death. Thinking of this, Qiao was about to move forward with an electric baton in her hand. She didn't think about the consequences, whether she would die or not. She just knew that the boss was trying to protect herself. She couldn't just watch the boss being beaten to death. She had to do her part. Su Weifeng didn't notice Qiao behind him. When he found out, Qiao had already passed him, which scared him. He quickly grabbed her clothes and dragged her back. "I'm fine, just watch from the side," Su Weifeng said calmly. But Qiao wanted to say something when she saw Su Weifeng say that, but she didn't say it out loud and nodded subconsciously. Su Weifeng's face was solemn. This King Kong really deserves to be called King Kong. In terms of pure strength, he was slightly inferior to him. This was something he had never encountered before. Feeling the breath emanating from King Kong, he really felt that he was facing a beast, not a person. "You are very strong." King Kong said a sentence with very unstandard pronunciation, which was actually just a few words. This was also the first time King Kong took the initiative to speak after coming here. King Kong's fighting spirit was even higher. He had never encountered a human with such great strength since returning to human society. It was the first time he met someone who could catch his punch with pure strength. He couldn't help but get excited, hoping that this man would let him have a good fight. Hey, he actually caught it. Actually caught King Kong's punch. Another super fighting power, if only I could use it. Tiger Lord swallowed his saliva, and his heartbeat seemed to stop. Is this still a human? Should I open my bar? I hope that He can deal with him today, otherwise I will be miserable. King Fiu, Shibin, Qiao Yushan. A group of friends were stunned. They were stunned that Su Weifeng was not dead. He was a gorilla. Come again. Su Weifeng shouted softly and took the initiative to attack. King Kong rolled towards Su Weifeng like a locomotive. Intensive explosions sounded. This was a man's battle. Su Weifeng and King Kong fought madly. There was no dodging, only attacking, and every punch hit the flesh. This time Su Weifeng did not compete with King Kong in strength. He knew that his strength had no advantage over this monster, but he injected his true energy into his fists. Every punch would infuse a little true energy into King Kong's body. No one knew how long the fight lasted. The people around were still shocked. This was not a fight between two humans, but a fight between two monsters. As time went by, the fight between the two was still fierce, with no intention of stopping. Everyone gradually became numb and thought that this was the way it should be. This man was a monster like King Kong. Finally, a huge figure fell down and smashed onto the table, which had become a pile of debris. The wood chips flew everywhere, and smoke and dust rose in the private room. At this time, people finally saw clearly that the two monsters had finally decided the winner, and the winner was Qiao's boyfriend Su Weifeng. At this time, Su Weifeng was panting, and his clothes had long been tattered. He could not withstand the fierce battle between the two monsters, and his face was covered with sweat. This was mainly because he consumed a lot of true energy. At the same time, using true energy to fight for a long time was also a big burden for Su Weifeng. The King Kong lying on the ground was even more miserable. His body, which was said to be invulnerable to swords and guns, was swollen. His body was full of air and his tendons were damaged. He could not get up from the ground. This was because his body was too strong. If it were an ordinary person, he would have exploded and died long ago. The whole private room fell silent. Su Weifeng's strength once again exceeded everyone's expectations. For a moment, they all looked at him in horror. Qiao had already supported Su Weifeng's body. Su Weifeng subconsciously leaned on Qiao. Qiao could feel that the boss's body was trembling a little. It was conceivable that after such a fierce battle with the gorilla, even if he won, he would not be unscathed. The boss looked obviously injured. Qiao was very anxious and wanted to take Su Weifeng to the hospital for treatment, but the crisis was not resolved. What should I do? I lost. King Kong lying on the ground uttered a weak word and then fainted. Su Weifeng gestured to Qiao and walked out the door. Qiao hurriedly followed, and after thinking about it, she pulled Nana up again. After all, they were friends, and she couldn't watch Nana fall into the fire pit. Chuzio was nervous, and when she walked to Hei's side, she stared at Hei with her peripheral vision, her heart beating violently, and she didn't believe that Hei would let them leave so easily. Nana's mind was blank at this time, and her expression was dazed. Too many things happened today, and the shock she received was beyond her mental endurance. Now she was on the verge of collapse, and now she just subconsciously followed Chuzio and the others. Hei. A black man called in a low voice, and the meaning was very clear, asking if they should stop them. Hei shook his head slightly, so slightly that it was not noticeable if you didn't pay attention. He didn't have the confidence he had just now. Just now, he just regarded this man as an ordinary person, who at best had some kung fu, and such a person was not a concern. But now it was different. This was a man who could even defeat King Kong. Just ask, if they were facing King Kong now, who would dare to stop him? The same would be true for this man. Su Weifeng and Chuzio left the room and the KTV door. Breathing the fresh air outside, Chuzio felt like she had been reborn. All this was because of the boss. If the boss hadn't been here, today would have been hell. Boss, thank you. Chuzio said softly. She knew how much trouble she had caused the boss today. Not to mention her current injuries, she had also offended the family members. Let's go quickly. They won't let us go so easily. Su Weifeng lowered his voice and said anxiously. With Su Weifeng's personality, he would not let Hei and the others go easily, but he didn't expect that King Kong was really too strong and hit too hard. His body also suffered a lot, especially the excessive consumption of true energy. He was now exhausted. If Hei had any more tricks, he didn't plan to let Hei go. He would get back after he recovered from his injuries. Chapter 830. What is Hei? Just after leaving the KTV door, not far away, more than 20 people rushed out from both sides. These people directly surrounded Su Weifeng, Chuzio and the other two in the center. Moreover, these people were holding pistols, and the black muzzles of the guns were pointed at Su Weifeng and the others. At this time, Hei and others slowly walked out from the door of the KTV. They had been waiting at the door just now. They dared not come out until the group of gunmen from the family arrived. At this time, Qin Fei and others also followed behind Hei. These people were very uneasy. Things had long been out of control. No one knew how it would end. Moreover, they were outsiders. It was hard to say whether Hei would kill them in the end. Although they were panic-stricken, they had to bite the bullet and follow them out. Haha, you still want to take the person I want? I really don't know who gave you the courage. What if you can fight? I can beat you into a hornet's nest with just one word. Hei walked over and said with hatred. Chuzio was completely disappointed this time. She didn't expect that she would really die here today. However, it would be fine if she could die with her boss. It was 1,000 times better than being caught by these beasts. Nana came back to her senses at this time. She looked at the muzzles of the guns and then at Shiban in the crowd. She smiled sadly. She was already heartbroken. She laughed at herself for being in the wrong relationship. The man she loved didn't care about her life or death and was with these beasts. She was full of regret. Boy, you dare to offend Hei. You really don't know what life and death is. Who are you? You are just a little ant. A big man like Hei can crush you to death with one foot. Qin Fei shouted loudly. He wanted to find a sense of existence and brush up his impression points in front of Hei. Since he was already standing with Hei, he might as well hold on to this thigh. Qin Fei was not as frightened as Tiger Lord and the others. Qin Fei knew that Hei would not kill him. After all, he was a member of the Qin family. Hei would not offend the Qin family to death. If there was nothing wrong, it would not be good for him. As for Shiban, Qiao Yushan and the others, whether they died or not had nothing to do with him. What brother or not, what does it matter if his woman can give up brothers at a critical moment? It would be better if they all died, then he would not worry about today's incident being exposed. Su Weifeng held Chuzio's hand and could feel that Chuzio's palm was full of sweat. Su Weifeng looked at Hei and did not speak, showing a meaningful smile. Looking at Su Weifeng's appearance, Hei was a little unsure. Why is this kid not afraid? Is he not afraid of so many guns and my men, or does he have some backup to be fearless? He frowned slightly, guessing various possibilities. Boy, aren't you afraid of death? He shouted in a gloomy voice. Afraid? Of course I'm afraid, but it's not that easy to kill me, Su Weifeng said with a smile. Qin Feiyu was about to open his mouth and curse Su Weifeng's arrogance, but he didn't dare to say anything before he said it. Amid the roar of cars, more than a dozen khaki Hummer H2s came speeding over, and with a sharp brakes sound, they stopped beside Hei's group. Hei and others looked at these sudden uninvited guests vigilantly, feeling a little uneasy. It seemed that they were not ordinary people, but they didn't know which force they were. After the Hummer convoy stopped, a group of men in white robes rushed down from the Hummers, all holding axes in their hands, and quickly surrounded Hei's people. The gunmen under Hei quickly raised their hands to indicate that they were not a threat, fearing that the other party would misunderstand and fire accidentally. These were axes, 40 or 50 axes against his dozen pistols. It was not bullying. Qin Feiyu, what's going on here? Is it Hei's enemy? Why is he so unlucky? Isn't this a standard case of being shot at by someone? Who are you? I'm Hei from the McAllen family. Hei shouted loudly, introducing himself. What is the McAllen family? And what is Hei? A cold laugh came, and then a big bald man in a white robe got off a Hummer. Brother, I'm not too late. The big bald man turned to Su Weifeng and laughed. It was Ajax who fought side by side with Su Weifeng on the plane. It's just the right time, Su Weifeng said, and pulled Chu Xiaotu over. This time, no one from Hei dared to stop them. Su Weifeng called Ajax when he just came out of the KTV. His physical condition was a little bad now, and he needed time to recover. He called Ajax first. This was also what Ajax said he had something to talk to him about. Su Weifeng had already made plans. If Ajax was not in Galan now, or could not solve the problem, it would not be too late for him to make a backup plan. Ajax happened to be not far from here, so the scene just now happened. However, Su Weifeng did not expect that Ajax had such a big battle, more than 10 Hummers, plus so many axes, which could fight a small positional war. Ajax was about to hug Su Weifeng enthusiastically, but Su Weifeng quickly dodged him. This big bold guy always felt that something was wrong, and could not give him a chance. Excuse me, who are you? Hei looked at Ajax's white robe and suddenly remembered something, and said in a nervous voice, I'm Darren's Ajax. Ajax said gloomily, with a strange smile on his face. Ah, Darren. Hei's voice trembled. Ajax's family is a family in Madagascar, which has a much higher status than the family in Galan City. Moreover, the Darren family in Madagascar is a pagan family. The main sect of K country believes in God, while the Darren family in Madagascar believes in the gods. The sects that believe in the gods have a common characteristic, which is warlike and strong in combat. They like to wear white robes, which are considered to be holy colors. Although the Darren family is not the top family in Madagascar, even families stronger than them are unwilling to provoke them. This family is recognized as a war madman. Those who oppose them will never stop until they die. They will use the power of the whole family to eliminate their opponents, regardless of etiquette. It turned out to be Ajax from the Darren family? Qin Feiyu muttered subconsciously. He also knew the Darren family. Ajax was the youngest son of this family. Although he was not a powerful person, he was also a core member. How could Chu Xiaotu's boyfriend have a relationship with him? How could a loser climb up to such a family? It's impossible. This is impossible. Everyone present has heard of Darren, even Chu Xiaotu and Nana have heard of him, but they just know that he is famous, but they don't know much about him. Chu Xiaotu didn't know that Su Weifeng met Ajax on the plane. She was puzzled. Didn't the boss just arrive in country K? What is his background? He actually knows the Darren family. Chapter 831 Escape. It seems that you still know my Darren family, then dare to bully my brother? Do you want to go to war with the Darren family? Ajax said coldly. This is a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. It's our McAllen family's fault. We will compensate the Darren family. Hei saw sweat on his head and hurriedly said, going to war with the Darren family? Joke. If the head of the family knew that it was Hei who caused the war with the Darren family, he would have to kill himself first. Brother, do you want to kill them all? Ajax said to Su Weifeng with a smile. Hearing this, Hei and others panicked. Now the gap in military strength between the two sides is huge. If the people of the Duran family want to destroy themselves, it's really a matter of a word, and there is no chance to resist. Sheba knelt down with a plop. It's not that he wanted to kneel, but that his legs were really weak, and he couldn't stand up. He had never seen such a scene before, and he was on the battlefield. Qiao Yushan and Qin Feiyu also had weak legs, and almost knelt down. Qin Feiyu was really panicking this time. If He would consider the Qin family and not touch him, then the Duran family would not care whether he was from the Qin family or not. These crazy people would not distinguish between prey. He hated himself for going to find Qiao too, otherwise there would not be so many problems. He had already thought about it. If he wanted to escape this time, he must stay away from Qiao as far as possible, and must not let her boyfriend misunderstand. Forget it, I will solve it myself when the time comes. Let them go. Su Weifeng glanced at the crowd, and the crowd lowered their heads, not daring to look at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng was now equivalent to holding a missile launcher in his hand. If he pressed a button, everyone would be finished. Really let them go? If I hadn't arrived in time, you would have died. Ajix frowned. Su Weifeng nodded, his eyes full of coldness, the corners of his mouth slightly upturned, looking a little crazy. Ajix noticed Su Weifeng's expression and smiled. He knew that Su Weifeng didn't want to let them go, but wanted to deal with them himself. This was what I wanted. A man should be happy to take revenge. I like it. Su Weifeng didn't want to kill so many people in public. Although the country was in chaos, it was not a battlefield. He was a little reluctant. He didn't want Ajix to go to war with He and Qin Feiyu's family because of killing these people. He would feel a little guilty about that. After all, their friendship was not that deep. Su Weifeng, Qiao and Nana got on Ajix's Hummer, and the Hummer convoy roared away. He and his group of people were left stunned. They really left as soon as they said they would. When they reacted, they were scared. They just turned around on the line of death. They didn't know that things would not end so easily. Su Weifeng and Qiao sent Nana home first. Qiao did not stay with Nana. After this incident, their friendship did not stand the test. They were just classmates when they met again. Su Weifeng was not too polite. A thank you is enough between men. Even between friends, thank you is not necessary. This is the friendship between men. Ajix sent Su Weifeng and Qiao to the Oriental Hotel and left. He had not finished his business in Galan. Today, he happened to help Su Weifeng. They agreed to go to Su Weifeng for a drink after a while. He already knew Su Weifeng's bar. Young master, this guy is worth making friends with. He can treat the siege of the McAllen family calmly and without fear. He is a great man. It will be helpful for you to compete for the position of the head of the family in the future. After returning to the villa where he stayed, a white-bearded black old man said, after listening to Ajix's story, Uncle Tom, Brother Su is not only brave and courageous, I just sent someone to inquire, and the King Kong of the McAllen family was defeated by him. He is still in the hospital, and will not be able to come out for at least a month. The bold Ajix laughed. He really admired Su Weifeng. He knew he could fight on the plane. I didn't expect that he could defeat the monster of the McAllen family. What? The gorilla of the McAllen family? The black old man's white beard trembled a little because of excitement. Yes, it's him. Ajix nodded affirmatively. That's a monster that can fight with the silverback gorilla. Your friend can actually do it. You must have a good relationship with him. I just don't know what his background is and what his purpose is in coming to Country K. The black old man frowned as he spoke. He was the private butler of the Ajix family. He watched Ajix grow up since he was a child, and everything was considered for Ajix. Ajix, however, disagreed. He did not like the family's open and secret struggles, and had no interest in the head of the family. He was a free-spirited person, but also simple and pure. Those who respected him were his friends. He would stick his neck out for him, but treating his enemies was a nightmare. Boss, are you okay? Qiao said worriedly. At this time, Su Weifeng had returned to his room and fell directly on the bed. After his body relaxed, he felt pain all over his body and every muscle was trembling, but he knew that this was also a good thing. After he recovered, his muscle strength would definitely be stronger, which was the same as fitness. It's okay, just take a rest. Su Weifeng fell asleep as he spoke. Chu Xiaotu lay in front of Su Weifeng's bed and heard Su Weifeng's gradually even breathing. She knew that Su Weifeng had fallen asleep and she felt a little relieved. Too many things happened today. Chu Xiaotu's mind is still very confused and she is still very scared. She wants to go back to her room, but she doesn't dare to. Finally, she ran back to the house to get her pillow and quilt and gently put it next to Su Weifeng and then lay down gently. After lying down, she relaxed. Feeling that Su Weifeng was next to her, the fear in her heart gradually disappeared. Looking at Su Weifeng sleeping beside her, she couldn't help but smile a little. I don't know how long I slept. Chu Xiaotu woke up first, feeling the warmth in the quilt, very comfortable. Suddenly opened her eyes wide. I don't know when she had already got into Su Weifeng's quilt. Now she was hugging Su Weifeng. No wonder it was so warm. Chu Xiaotu's little face suddenly turned red, all the way to her ears. She didn't have a boyfriend yet. When did she have such close contact with a man? Let the boss pretend to be her boyfriend. And now she got into the boss's quilt. What should she do? Fortunately the boss is still sleeping and breathing very evenly. Chu Xiaotu gently hugged the boss again. It was warm and felt really good. Thinking about it, her face turned redder. She slowly got out of the quilt, picked up the quilt and pillow that fell on the ground, and ran back to her room quietly, lying on the bed and covering herself with the quilt. Her face was red, as if it was about to bleed. Her heart was beating wildly, and she had a strange feeling in her heart, both shy and happy. Chapter 832, Promise. At noon, Su Weifeng finally woke up. Sleeping is the best way to recover. After a comfortable sleep, the pain in his muscles was relieved a lot. He was refreshed. He took a shower and went to the living room. The hotel had already sent lunch, and Chu Xiaotu was waiting for him. Boss, thank you. If it weren't for you. Chu Xiaotu suddenly looked at Su Weifeng and said while eating, but she was embarrassed to finish halfway. Thank you, or I will marry you. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Chu Xiaotu's face turned red immediately. She turned her head away, not daring to look at Su Weifeng again, and used chopsticks to pick up the rice in her bowl. Su Weifeng laughed. It was quite interesting to tease this little girl. I knew you were always thinking about me, pervert. Chu Xiaotu said, but there was no anger in her tone. If you really want to, you can also consider it. Chu Xiaotu's voice became smaller and smaller, and she could hardly hear it herself. Su Weifeng was drinking water, and he almost spit out a mouthful of water, choking himself and rolling his eyes. When did I set my sights on you? Why can't I get over this hurdle? Su Weifeng wanted to cry, but had no tears. I was just teasing you, and you took it seriously. Su Weifeng laughed. Ah, boss, you liar. Pervert. Chu Xiaotu was so angry that she beat Su Weifeng hard. She had already agreed, but he didn't accept it. This was too embarrassing. Don't think too much. You don't owe me anything. I'm your boss, and it's my duty to protect my employees. Don't worry, now that the matter has been resolved, that young Master Qin won't be embarrassed to pester you in the future. Su Weifeng looked at Chu Xiaotu and said, she knew that Chu Xiaotu's attitude today was largely affected by what happened last night. After all, he was Chu Xiaotu's savior, but he didn't need such a reward. He still had so many girlfriends, and didn't want to expand his army. Chu Xiaotu thought about what Su Weifeng said, and felt that it was true. She didn't know what her feelings were. Maybe it was mostly about repaying a favor and seeking protection. After she figured it out, she was glad that the boss didn't agree, and she felt relieved. Su Weifeng didn't plan to go to the bar today. Anyway, there wouldn't be anything to do in the next few days, and Tiger and the others didn't dare to come and cause trouble now. He wanted to have a good rest at home today and recover his body. After meeting King Kong, he no longer looked down on this city. Boss, I'll be back later tonight. You don't have to wait for me to go to bed. Chu Xiaotu said before leaving. She felt something was wrong after she said it. Why did this sound a bit ambiguous? Su Weifeng also thought of it, looking at her with a smirk, and Chu Xiaotu stomped her feet in anger. Where are you going? It's midnight off to get off work. Are you still going to Nana's house? Su Weifeng asked casually. Not to Nana's house. Chu Xiaotu said hesitantly. Where are you going? Su Weifeng asked curiously. He knew that Chu Xiaotu's last friend in Jialan was Nana. She didn't have any relatives, and he didn't hear that she had any other good friends. Ah, that's it. Chu Xiaotu knew that she couldn't say it. After thinking for a long time, she couldn't think of any suitable reason. Su Weifeng just smiled at her and didn't say anything, but Chu Xiaotu felt a little panicked when her boss looked at her like that, just like a child lying in front of his parents. He knew from the bottom of his heart that he had to tell the truth. It was wrong to lie to his parents, and he was not a good child. In the end, Chu Xiaotu compromised. I want to go to the gambling stone place to have a look. Chu Xiaotu saw that she couldn't hide it anymore, so she said directly, you want to find the fat man's wife? Su Weifeng looked at Chu Xiaotu with wide eyes and curiosity. He knew that Chu Xiaotu had a strong sense of justice, but this little girl was too brave. No, I just want to see what kind of place can make a person so crazy. It's simply insane. Chu Xiaotu said angrily. You can't go to that kind of place. It's not safe for a little girl like you to go there at night. Su Weifeng's face darkened, and he deliberately put on the aura of a leader. Do you care about me? You said you're not interested in me. Chu Xiaotu said proudly. The leadership posture that Su Weifeng had just put on collapsed in an instant. This little rabbit kept saying that I was interested in her. There was no way to chat for the day. That's not a place for good people. There are fat people in it. Do you still want to be like them? If you lose again, go home early after get off work. Su Weifeng said again, and he felt like educating a child. Then you went there? The boss went there last Friday. Chu Xiaotu puffed up her face and said unconvinced. Ah, how did you know I went there? Su Weifeng's heart moved. How could this be discovered? Haha, I guessed it right, right? If you can go, why can't I go? You are not my boyfriend. Why do you control me? Chu Xiaotu said proudly. She actually guessed it, but she didn't expect it to be right. She was tricked out by herself, and she was very proud. Su Weifeng was also upset. He was fooled by a little girl. If the troops knew about this, they would laugh at me, the captain. Su Weifeng thought about it and realized that he was not Chu Xiaotu's parent or her boyfriend. If she insisted on going, he could not stop her. They were all adults, and they still had to have personal freedom. How about this? I will take you there tonight to see it. Just this once. Su Weifeng thought about it. He could go there today to see the master that Lao Kan mentioned. He could discover the spiritual energy in the gambling stone with his true energy. So, did this master also have true energy? Great, the boss is the best. Chu Xiaotu cheered and rushed over. She hugged Su Weifeng, but she felt something was wrong. This was too intimate. She quickly jumped away and stuck out her tongue. Su Weifeng didn't think anything of it. He agreed with Chu Xiaotu on a time. Su Weifeng would pick her up at the bar when she was about to get off work, and then the two would go to Lanshan Garden together. Just after 10 o'clock in the evening, Su Weifeng's phone rang. Seeing that the caller was Chu Xiaotu, Su Weifeng couldn't help but frowned. Could it be that someone is here to cause trouble again? Su Weifeng quickly answered the phone. Xiaotu, what's wrong? Boss Tiger next door is here. Chu Xiaotu said angrily. Seeing Boss Tiger reminded her of what happened last night. Boss Tiger also went to line up, and he was also a beast. He came to give you a gift, with ginseng, sea cucumber and so on, saying that he wanted to apologize to us. Chu Xiaotu said unhappily. Sister-in-law, you talk to Boss Su, you must forgive me, I will definitely change, I will definitely change. The voice of Boss Tiger came from the phone, anxious and almost crying. He went back yesterday and thought that something was wrong. He felt that Su Weifeng would not let them go. If he wanted to survive, he had to strive for Su Weifeng's forgiveness, and he had to do it as soon as possible. The longer he delayed, the more passive he would be. He hurried over after buying things. Chapter 833 Boss Lady. What should we do with the boss? He's not leaving here and is affecting other customers drinking. Chu Xiaotu said. Tell him to go back first and tell him I'll go find him. Su Weifeng said. The boss asked you to go back. He'll come find you when he has time. Just wait. Chu Xiaotu's voice came from the phone. Sister-in-law, please. Tiger Lord knelt down to Qiao in the bar, and the guests were stunned. Those who often come to the bar know Tiger Lord. He is the owner of the bar next door. He is also quite powerful in this area. He is often followed by a group of thugs. He knelt down to the young waiter and called her sister-in-law. It seems that the owner of this bar has a bigger background. This must be the boss's wife. Some young men saw that Qiao was beautiful, and those who wanted to make a move on her gave up the idea. They couldn't afford to offend the boss's wife. Finally, Tiger Lord had no choice but to put down the things and run away. But this thing cannot be taken back no matter what. If he takes it back, he will really die. Now he can only hope that Boss Su will let him go for his sincerity, even if he has to bleed a little more. Qiao was relieved when Tiger Lord left. Tiger Lord almost scared away the customers when he came, otherwise he would have worked in vain. But after Tiger Lord left, something happened that made Qiao go crazy. All the customers called her the waiter instead of the waiter, and their attitudes were much more polite. This made Qiao very depressed. She explained that she was not the boss lady, but the customers smiled meaningfully and still called her the boss lady. Even Mo Fei smiled and called her the boss lady, which made Qiao blush. There was nothing she could do about these people. Just after midnight, Su Weifeng came. Seeing that there were still many people drinking in the store and nothing happened, he felt relieved. Qiao, I'm here early enough. Su Weifeng came to the bar and saw Qiao and said. Qiao saw Su Weifeng coming and ignored him. She glared at him and was angry in her heart. It was all because of you that I was misunderstood. Boss Su, come and pick up the boss lady. Mo Fei said with a slight smile on his face. Su Weifeng answered subconsciously, and then he was stunned. What's going on? Who is the boss lady? Looking at Qiao's resentful eyes, Su Weifeng understood that these people must think that Qiao is the boss lady. Then he remembered that brother who called her sister-in-law on the phone just now. Don't listen to what boss who said. Qiao and I live together. Su Weifeng wanted to explain. Oh, we live together. Mo Fei said. It's a dormitory, we live in the dormitory. Qiao was so angry that she wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into it. At 1 o'clock, the number of customers in the bar gradually decreased. After closing, Su Weifeng and Qiao did not take a taxi. The distance was not too far, so the two walked to Blue Mountain Garden. It's all your fault. Now everyone thinks that I have a relationship with you. I'm too ashamed to see anyone. Qiao said to Su Weifeng angrily. Let them misunderstand. It's good enough for us to know that nothing is wrong. This is called the innocent will be innocent. Su Weifeng comforted. Have you heard of gambling on Jade before? When I went to Blue Mountain Garden last week, I heard a news that a gambling master would go there today. Su Weifeng knew that this question was unclear, so he hurriedly changed the subject. What master? Is there a master in gambling? Is it the god of gamblers? Qiao's attention was indeed attracted. It's not the god of gamblers. This master seems to be a professor. By the way, his name is Professor Chen. It is said that he is a very famous figure in the domestic treasure appraisal circle. He is very knowledgeable about gambling on jade. He once cut a piece of top quality jade in Blue Mountain Garden and sold it on the spot for $10 million. Su Weifeng told everything he heard. $10 million US. I wish I could cut a piece of this. Qiao's eyes lit up when she heard this, and she was about to imagine the future. Stop, don't have such thoughts. That fat guy had such thoughts, but in the end, his wife was sold. You can't get involved in such things. Once you start, you can't get out of it. Su Weifeng said seriously. I can't just dream about it. Qiao said. The two of them walked and talked, and they could see Blue Mountain Garden soon. They could see Blue Mountain Garden after passing another intersection. The two of them were crossing the road when a BMW drove over at high speed, turned sharply, and was about to hit the two of them. Qiao screamed, and it seemed that she could not escape. At this time, her mind was blank. Su Weifeng was also shocked. He just chatted with Qiao and didn't pay attention to the surrounding environment. He grabbed Qiao's hand and quickly hid to the side. He became alert in his heart. Whose revenge was it in the middle of the night? Tiger Lord would not dare to do it. It was highly likely that it could be ruled out. The only ones left should be the Kim family and the McAllen family. The driver of the BMW was also startled, and he turned the steering wheel to avoid it, almost hitting the street lamp pole. The BMW stopped, and a middle-aged man in black got out and walked towards Su Weifeng and Chu Xiao. "Are you looking for death in the middle of the night? You don't have eyes when you walk." The middle-aged man cursed. "You don't have eyes. How do you drive? Is this road reserved by your family?" Chu Xiao was not to be outdone and shouted loudly. "You. Okay, Abiro, come back and leave quickly." The middle-aged man was about to speak when he was interrupted by an elderly voice from the car. From the voice, you can tell that this is an old man with full energy, and his tone is full of impatience. "You are lucky. I will definitely not let you go so easily next time I meet you." After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he walked into the car angrily, stepped on the accelerator, and the BMW rushed out. "Don't run. It's not certain who will not let you go." Chu Xiao shouted unyieldingly. "Boss, why don't you scold him?" Chu Xiao said to Su Weifeng angrily. She was in a bad mood after being scolded, and she was angry that Su Weifeng didn't help. "What's the point of scolding him? It's meaningless and a waste of time," Su Weifeng said disdainfully. He always disdained verbal disputes. "If he wants to play, he will play you to death." Chu Xiao suddenly thought of a saying that a gentleman would rather use his hands than his mouth. Thinking about the boss last night, he couldn't help but nod secretly. This saying really suits him. When Su Weifeng and Chu Xiao arrived at the gate of Lanshan Garden, the street outside was already full of cars. This was different from the last time Su Weifeng came. The two walked into the gate. As soon as they entered the door, they saw that the treasure pavilion was already crowded with people. The guys at the door tightly protected the gambling stones on the ground, fearing that someone would take a piece away. There were people at the doors of other shops, but none of them were as popular as a treasure pavilion. Chu Xiao pulled Su Weifeng forward, but there were too many people, and the store was packed. "Don't push. You can't get in even if you squeeze," a middle-aged man in front of the two said dissatisfiedly. "How can you get in when I can't get in?" The middle-aged man continued. "Make way, let me see the master. I want to see the master." Someone in the crowd in front shouted. Chapter 834 Electric Baton opens the way. Su Weifeng and Chu Xiao now knew why there were so many people in this treasure house. That Professor Chen, Master Chen, was inside. No wonder so many people were squeezing in. Chu Xiao squeezed in even harder after she knew that Professor Chen was inside. Su Weifeng's words along the way had already aroused her interest, and now she wanted to see this gambling godlike figure. There were so many people squeezing in, not even a dog could get in. Chu Xiao couldn't squeeze in at all. She couldn't help but feel anxious. Suddenly, her eyes turned, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. "Papa!" A flash of lightning flashed. Chu Xiao took out the electric baton, turned on the switch, and the unique crackling sound of the electric baton rang out. "Oh my god." The middle-aged man in front was the first to react. He looked at Chu Xiao holding the electric baton, as if he had seen a ghost, and squeezed to the side desperately, fearing that he would be electrocuted. "Make way, the electric baton is coming, the electric baton is coming." Chu Xiao shouted loudly while squeezing in. "Crazy. What do you want to do? Whose beauty is this? Hurry up and get out of the way or you'll get electrocuted. Help. Don't touch me." The people in the front didn't know what was going on, but the people behind them were already desperately squeezing to the sides. If they were slow, they would feel the electric shock. It is said that some people will become incontinent after being electrocuted, but no one wanted to verify whether this was true. Su Weifeng was furious, thinking to himself that he didn't know her and that this girl was too cruel. But he had no choice but to follow Chu Xiao and squeeze in. Chu Xiao was still holding his hand, and he was greeted with countless angry looks and curses along the way. Su Weifeng quickly squeezed into the store with Chu Xiao and then passed through the store into the backyard. This was the result of countless people helping Chu Xiao to clear the way, and the two of them entered the backyard without much effort. Finally, I squeezed to the front. I saw a cordon in front. Everyone was inside the cordon. No one crossed it. It was not because people were too self-conscious, but because a group of security guards were standing inside the cordon, each holding a baton, maintaining order with a fierce look. Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu also came to the edge of the cordon at this moment. The security guards also noticed the commotion of the crowd. They wanted to stop them, but when they saw that it was a pretty girl, they didn't care. Anyway, she squeezed in and couldn't get out. Damn, it's the driver. Chu Xiaotu shouted. What are you talking about? Su Weifeng patted Chu Xiaotu's head. It's a pretty girl, so you can't curse. Su Weifeng then looked in the direction of Chu Xiaotu's finger and saw that the cordon was full of stones, some big and some small. The backyard was also very large, about 100 square meters. These gambling stones filled the whole yard. Su Weifeng was also shocked by so many gambling stones. But soon Su Weifeng noticed the person Chu Xiaotu was talking about. It was indeed the BMW driver. At this time, he was following an old man. The old man was wearing a long gown, with a white beard tied into a small braid on his chin, and his face was ruddy. He really had a bit of a transcendental aura. Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu looked at each other, and the man understood that the car that almost stole his car was the master's car, and the middle-aged man driving was the master's driver. After figuring it out, Chu Xiaotu's good impression of the master was greatly reduced. What kind of gambling god is this? He is just an arrogant old man. Be quiet, don't disturb Master Chen. A bald fat old man in the yard said. He is the owner of the treasure pavilion. No one remembers his name. Everyone calls him Baoyi. Baoyi also followed Master Chen, watching him pick and choose, picking up this piece and looking at it over and over with a magnifying glass, then shining a purple light on it, then putting it down and picking up another piece. This Master Chen looked very slowly, but no one urged him. The people outside the cordon were also staring at Master Chen closely, although Master Chen was doing repetitive movements. Chu Xiaotu had been yawning after watching for a while. He didn't expect that gambling on stones was so boring and not exciting at all. He thought that this master was possessed by the god of gamblers, casually pointing out the mountains and rivers and just cutting out pieces of jade. This was completely different from what he thought. Finally, the master picked up a fist-sized rough stone and said, "This is it. How much is it?" "This is 500,000 US dollars. Baoyi said with a smile. 500,000 US dollars for such a small stone. That's more than 3 million RMB, which can buy a house. A man exclaimed. You are an outsider, right? You can't just look at the size when gambling on stones. You saw the area where the master took the stone. It is in the middle of the yard. The price and quality are not the highest. The further you go in, the more expensive it is, and the greater the chance of getting top quality jade. If I can really get top quality jade, I will sell my house, and it will be worth it." A man's eyes were shining. "I can't afford the ones inside, but the ones outside are okay for fun." Seeing that the master was selling a rough stone worth 500,000 US dollars, people were very excited. Baoyi didn't let the master pay and directly waved his hand. A technician in uniform came over and took the stone from the master. The technician took the stone to the workbench in front, put on gloves and protective glasses, started the cutting equipment, and cut the rough stone. People stared at the rough stone that was about to be cut, feeling nervous, as if they were gambling on stones themselves. Chu Xiaotu hugged Su Weifeng's arm tightly, and her chest pressed against Su Weifeng's arm tightly. I didn't expect her to have such a good figure. Chu Xiaotu's nails pinched into the flesh. Su Weifeng frowned in pain, but he didn't scream. Chu Xiaotu didn't notice it yet. All her attention was on the gambling stone. The cutter slowly fell down, and it had cut a millimeter. It seemed that there was green slag in a centimeter. Su Weifeng felt Chu Xiaotu's heart beating violently, and laughed in his heart. He just said it was boring, but now it was like this. Su Weifeng himself didn't feel anything. It was just gambling on stones. Even if he went to gamble, he wouldn't be nervous. It didn't matter if he won or lost. This little money really didn't attract him. Finally, the cutter cut all the way to the bottom, and the cut surface of the original stone was revealed. The emerald green color seemed to drip water on the surface. The color was uniform, and it was a very perfect jadeite. Ah, it's top quality. How much is such a perfect jadeite worth? Someone who was watching the excitement screamed. This must be worth $1 million. The master is really amazing. You are uneducated. What 1 million? It's worth at least $2 million. I have never seen anyone open such a perfect jade. The crowd was in turmoil again. The master's strength was expected long ago, there is no doubt about it, but the impact of hearing about it and seeing it with your own eyes is still different. Wow, what a beautiful jade, I wish it was mine. Qiao 2's eyes were shining green, and her white little claws wanted to grab it. Women really have no resistance to shiny things. Professor Chen, we bought this for 6 million. What do you think? Fat Bao's eyes also lit up, and he said to Master Chen with a smile. Chapter 835 Master's Help. What? 6 million US dollars, that's 40 million RMB, for such a small piece. Qiao 2 jumped up in shock. She could never earn so much money in her life, but this master made it just by doing anything. He was really a gambling god. This time she was convinced. People were crazy. The master's last record in Blue Mountain Garden was 10 million US dollars. Although it didn't break the record this time, it was not a small amount. It was worthwhile to come here today. I can brag to my friends for a while when I go back. Master Chen didn't let the technicians cut it anymore. He sold it to Bao Yi at this price. As for the money for the rough stone, it was directly deducted from the 6 million US dollars. In fact, Master Chen could choose to continue cutting the rough stone. In this way, all the jadeite would be cleared out. If there was only a small piece or the appearance inside was not good, then Bao Yi's purchase amount would be much less. But if the appearance of the jadeite was still perfect and the shape was regular after all the cutting, the amount would increase significantly. However, the master did not choose to continue gambling. He also stopped when he saw the good. Bao Yi also acted quickly and directly transferred money to the master. The master and Bao Yi had cooperated more than once or twice, so there was no need to look. Master, please sign for me. Master, let's take a photo together. These are all gambling stone enthusiasts. Looking at the master is like looking at the god of their own industry, with crazy eyes. Master, help me choose one. Suddenly, a person shouted loudly when they met at the cordon, and jumped up and crossed the cordon. Seeing this, others followed suit and were about to rush forward. The security guard in front waved his baton fiercely for a while to stop these crazy fans, but the first young man who had already entered was not stopped. Sir, do you trust me? Master Chen said to the young man with a smile. Of course I trust you. Thank you for your help. Even if I lose money, I won't blame you. The young man hurriedly said. Okay, wait a minute. After the master finished speaking, he started to choose at a slightly cheaper place in front. The young man followed closely behind the master, staring at every rough stone the master picked up, his hands clenched into fists nervously. The rest of the people were also closely watching the master's actions, and at the same time they were jealous of the lucky young man. This time, the master did not spend as much time as before. It only took 1 or 2 minutes to select a piece of raw stone as big as a watermelon, but the shape was irregular. The master squatted on the ground and carefully examined it for a while, and finally confirmed that it was this one. How about this one? The master said to the young man. I want this one. This one. The young man was very excited, and golden light was about to emerge from his eyes. This one is 100,000 US dollars. Bao Yi spoke first, and quoted the price of this gambling stone. The young man also took a breath of cold air when he heard the price. Obviously, he didn't expect it to be so expensive. This was still selected in a relatively cheap area. However, the size of this gambling stone was much larger than the one the master had just selected. After gritting his teeth, the young man made a decision. I want it. Open it. The young man gritted his teeth. Sir, the rule of our gambling stone is to pay first before opening it. Bao Yi said with a smile. The young man also knew that this was the rule for gambling on stones. Otherwise, if there was nothing after cutting it open and the owner ran away, the store would lose a lot. It was normal for Bao Yi not to pay first. He was a master, and his reputation was worth the money. I want this. I'll raise money right away. Just wait for me for 10 minutes. After Baoyi nodded, the young man immediately went to the side to call to raise money. This 100,000 US dollars is about 700,000 RMB. Rich people can ignore it, but most of the people in this Chinatown are ordinary people, and they can't come up with so much money in a short time. Boss, how much do you think the stone chosen by the master is worth? Chu Xiaotu asked curiously. I can't tell this either. Do I have to touch it? Su Weifeng shook his head. He had been paying attention to the master's actions, but he didn't see what means he used to judge whether there was jade in the gambling stone. Boss, can you tell it too? Chu Xiaotu's eyes lit up, and he hugged Su Weifeng's arm. It should be about the same. Su Weifeng was not sure either. He was just guessing now. After all, he had only touched a piece of raw stone that was sensitive to true qi, and he didn't know if the others were the same. Then let's buy a piece and try it. Chu Xiaotu became interested. Let's see the situation first. Su Weifeng was also somewhat tempted. Both of them forgot that they still despised gambling on stones before coming here, saying that gambling on stones should not be sticky. Now that they came, they were a little eager to try it under the atmosphere. At this time, the young man had raised the money and transferred the money to Baoyi. The young man and the technician lifted the rough stone onto the cutting table. The technician cut the rough stone directly, but after this cut, the cut surface was still the grayish white stone color, without a trace of green. The young man's face was sweating. The technician was also a little surprised. It should be said that the master should not have chosen nothing. He cut the two petals separately, and finally a touch of green like spring grass appeared in everyone's eyes. The young man breathed a sigh of relief, and his heart was finally at ease. It turned out that, although the stone was relatively large, after it was completely cut, a palm-sized piece of light green jadeite was cut out, and the texture was not very uniform. In the end, Master Bao offered a price of 200,000 US dollars. Although it was far from the jadeite that the master had just cut for several million US dollars, it was not bad. The young man made double his money at once, and was quite satisfied. He thanked the master profusely. Seeing that the master really made the young man a lot of money, the others could not sit still, and shouted for the master to help choose a piece. Chu Xiaotu naturally joined the ranks. Su Weifeng did not stop him. He also wanted to try. Everyone, please be quiet. Thank you for your trust in me. How about this? I will select 10 more people today and help each of them choose a piece. The master was infected by everyone's enthusiasm and said with a smile, Aye we. Chu Xiaotu also jumped and shouted. The people below were crazy. This was an opportunity to make money for nothing. Whoever the master helped to choose was giving money to who wouldn't want it. Finally, the master randomly pointed out 10 people, and Chu Xiaotu was among them. Who could blame her for being in the front and being a beauty? The chosen people stood in front one by one and lined up in a row. People outside looked at these lucky ones with envy, their eyes burning with desire to replace them. This time, the master's driver also recognized Xiaotu, the girl who had just cursed at him, but he didn't say anything. Chu Xiaotu was the first in line. Ladies first, right? Besides, she was a beauty. Since she had already been chosen, the other men were not in a hurry. Chu Xiaotu winked at Su Weifeng with pride. She had agreed with the boss that the boss would pay, and the two of them would split the profits in half. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 836, Total Annihilation. Miss, I'll choose for you first. Wait a moment. Master Chen smiled slightly and began to touch the stones in the gambling area. He touched this one and looked at that one. Su Weifeng suddenly had an illusion that he was not in the gambling area, but in the watermelon field, watching others picking watermelons. In 1 minute, the master had already chosen a stone that was neither too big nor too small, and this stone was also chosen in the middle, which surprised everyone. The stone that the master had just chosen cost 500,000 US dollars. This stone was also in the same area, so the price would not be too small, that is, several million US dollars. How could this little girl have so much money? Although the master must have chosen good things, he still had to have money to invest. Qiao was also a little nervous, not knowing how much this stone cost, and looked at Master Bao. The price of this rough stone is a little higher. It costs 600,000 US dollars. Master Bao smiled and said in a very calm tone, "Ah, so expensive." Qiao was shocked. She didn't expect that this rough stone was more expensive than the one that Master Chen had just chosen, which made her panic for a while. "How about it? Do you want it, little girl?" Bao Yi said with a smile. "This is almost 4 million RMB, which is an astronomical figure." Qiao has already given up, but still looks at her boss. "Don't give it to me. I want it. I want it." Two men outside the cordon shouted and stared at each other, very anxious, as if Qiao would give up, and the two men would immediately fight. Su Weifeng nodded. Qiao was still a little scared with the boss's consent. The decision-making power of such a large amount was in her hands, and she made up her mind. "I want it," Qiao said loudly. Hearing Qiao's words, the two men outside also stopped fighting, and both of them smiled at each other with their heads down. "Little girl, how do you pay for this?" Bao Yi said with a smile. "Boss, come and pay." Qiao waved to the boss hurriedly. She didn't have any money. The crowd laughed immediately, knowing that Su Weifeng was the one who paid the bill, and some people were already speculating about the relationship between the two. "Little brother, you are so lucky. I didn't expect you to be so rich." The second man in pajamas behind Qiao said. Su Weifeng only noticed him then. "Isn't this Lao Kan?" He had been paying attention to the master just now, and didn't notice him. He hurried to greet him. Su Weifeng transferred the money directly and waited for the gambling stone to be cut. The others were also waiting to see what kind of jadeite the 600,000 US dollars of raw stone could cut out, and whether there would be another top quality jadeite. But the master handed the gambling stone to Qiao, and the technician had no intention of coming forward. "You can cut the gambling stone together later. Our master is busy and can't waste too much time here. Help the rest of you to finish choosing the gambling stones first." The master's driver stood up and spoke. Qiao frowned and was about to refute, but in the end he didn't say anything, and Su Weifeng pulled the corner of his mouth and revealed a sneer. Soon, the people behind had finished their selections. The prices were between 200,000 and 500,000. Only Lao Kan chose 800,000, which was higher than the one Qiao was holding. The prices the master chose for these people exceeded their upper limit, but everyone was reluctant to give up this opportunity. They tried their best to raise money, such as loan sharks, mortgages, etc. Finally, the selection was completed, and everyone's heart was excited. Now it was the most exciting moment, cutting the gambling stone. People's attention was focused on the 10 people present. According to the order just now, Qiao was the first to hand the gambling stone to the technician. The technician took the stone to the workbench. The first cut, nothing. The technician cut the two halves of the gambling stone once again. Still nothing. Qiao's face was pale, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. Sure enough, until the technician cut the whole piece of raw stone into pieces, there was still no green, which also announced the failure of the gambling stone. Qiao stood there blankly. Her mind was blank. Millions of RMB were gone. She wanted to die, and she also understood the mentality of the fat man at that time. The fat man was bankrupt, and his relatives were sold. Fortunately, she didn't lose anything. It was all the boss's fault. Qiao suddenly reacted. Yes, this was the boss's money. What should the boss do if he lost it all? And hurriedly looked at Su Weifeng. But Su Weifeng was like nothing happened, still smiling. His expression didn't change at all. "Boss, I'm sorry." Qiao lowered her head and said to Su Weifeng, like a child who had done something wrong, "It's okay. Don't worry about it. You know you can't stick to me now." Su Weifeng touched Qiao's head and comforted her. Qiao hugged Su Weifeng and burst into tears. She felt wronged and caused such a big disaster. Although it was a disaster caused by two people, the boss was the only one who lost the money. At this time, the boss came to comfort her. The more she thought about it, the sadder she felt, and she hated herself for being greedy. Old Khan wanted to comfort Su Weifeng, but seeing that Su Weifeng was not hit hard, he did not speak, and at the same time he looked at Su Weifeng differently. Some people outside the venue felt sorry for Su Weifeng and Chu Xiao too, while others were gloating. Only the few people waiting to cut the gambling stones in the venue felt a sense of grief. They had already regarded the master as a god, and never thought that the master would fail. The first 600,000 had nothing, and they became nervous, fearing that they would follow in his footsteps. The second person was fine, and cut out a little jade, but the texture was very poor and there were cracks. Baoyi only spent $100 to buy it, while this man spent $300,000 to buy the gambling stone. The man's blood pressure rose at the time, but fortunately the treasure pavilion gave him some medicine to relieve it, otherwise he would have to go to the hospital directly. Old Khan's idea was not very good. The gambling stone in his hand was no different from Chu Xiaotu's, and it was also a pile of broken stone chips. The distressed old Khan beat his chest and stamped his feet, but fortunately he survived. In just a short while, everyone had finished cutting. Most of them had nothing. The most they cut out was a piece of jade worth $1,000. The original stones that the master helped 10 people to choose this time were all wiped out. Master, it must be intentional. The man who almost fainted just now shouted. Yes, pay us money. Pay money. Pay money. The men who lost money shouted one after another. Some of them had lost their fortunes in this gamble. Even if they didn't reach this level, they returned to the pre-liberation era overnight. All the hard work over the years was in vain. Gambling on stones. Gambling on stones. I can't always guess right. That's not what gambling is. Just now you asked me to help you choose. We agreed in advance. Whether you win or not is your own business. What does it have to do with me? I didn't confiscate your money, Master Chen said, and subconsciously looked at Baoyi. Chapter 837 Dare to Gamble? Master Chen's expression changed this time, and he looked gloomy and unhappy. Don't slander Master Chen, you begged Master Chen. Whoever dares to touch Master Chen, I will be the first to not spare him. Master Chen, Master Chen, Master Chen, Master Chen. The people below shouted one after another, still supporting their idol. Anyway, they didn't have anything to lose, and they were all in a state of mind to watch the show. Master Chen, do you really know how to gamble on stones? Su Weifeng spoke, and took a step forward. Who is this kid? He dares to question the master's authority. Someone below was unhappy. Gambling on stones is profound and extensive. I dare not say that I know how to do it, but I just know a little bit. The master said coldly. Since the master knows a little bit, it must be better than me who doesn't know anything. I want to make a bet with the master. I don't know if the master dares. Su Weifeng said calmly. Chu Xiaotu looked at Su Weifeng in confusion, not knowing what the boss meant. What do you want to bet with me? The master frowned. Let's bet on gambling stones. I don't think the master will dare. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Boss. Chu Xiaotu said anxiously. Why did the boss go to gamble with the gambling stone master? Isn't this just waiting to lose? Brother, you can't gamble. Lao Khan also said anxiously. He thought Su Weifeng was anxious to lose, so he went to the master to gamble with stones. Ha ha ha, gamble with me. Okay, how do you want to gamble? The master laughed, as if he had heard the biggest joke. We each choose a stone, and see who offers the highest price. Whoever offers the highest price wins. Su Weifeng said the simplest way. Then what is the bet? The master said, looking at Su Weifeng with interest. The bet is $10 million. Su Weifeng said casually. As soon as the words came out, the master was stunned, as if he had swallowed an egg, and couldn't speak for a while. This is $10 million, which is not a small amount for the master. Chu Xiaotu stared at his boss blankly, and didn't know what he was thinking. Is the boss crazy? He must be crazy. How could he have so much money? If he had so much money, how could he open such a small bar? Suddenly Chu Xiaotu thought that the boss wanted to get something for nothing. He didn't have that much money at all. He wanted to make a fortune, but what would he do if he lost? What could he give? He was a gambling stone master. The chance of winning was too slim. Chu Xiaotu ran over and pulled Su Weifeng, but Su Weifeng stood there motionless. Qiao couldn't pull him at all, no matter how hard she tried. Seeing that Qiao was anxious, Su Weifeng gave her a reassuring look, but how could Qiao be reassured? She was very anxious and regretful. Why did she have to come to gamble on stones today? Otherwise, the boss wouldn't come. Isn't this a trap for the boss? The crowd of onlookers was stunned. They didn't expect this young man to be so generous. They were amazed at his courage and his financial resources. Of course, they were more prepared to laugh at him and watch how the master abused this ignorant kid. Okay, I'll bet with you, but how do I know if you have so much money? If you don't have it, you can't afford to lose it. The master was ecstatic. He didn't expect to meet such a fool. He didn't know whether he was really rich or fake. Su Weifeng didn't explain. He took out his mobile phone and showed the master the balance of change in it. Only the master saw it, and the others didn't see it. They were very curious whether this kid had so much money. The master swallowed his saliva and was a little nervous. This is not just tens of millions. There is a single digit in front. Who is this kid? Even ordinary family members can't carry so much change with them. The master was a little nervous. He still knew some families, and he couldn't compare with his petty tricks. He looked at Su Weifeng with respect. The master thought about it and thought that this is K country, not China. At most, I won't come here. After winning this money, I will stay in China. No matter how powerful your family is, dare to go to China to make trouble for me? That's courting death. Master, do you have to let me see if you have so many bets? Su Weifeng said with a smile. Qiao understood now. It seemed that the boss really had so much money. She was puzzled. What was the boss doing in Jialan? Maybe he was a playboy from a big family in China. He ran out to play. The more she thought about it, the more possible it was. She secretly warned herself that she must keep a distance from the boss. These playboys are the worst. I can't be his plaything. Su Weifeng didn't know that he had one more bad guy card. I don't have so much cash now. If I lose, I will definitely raise money for you. Baoyi can testify. Baoyi, please be a witness for me. The master said to Baoyi. My treasure pavilion can be a witness. I can also personally guarantee for the master. If the master can't afford to pay, you can come to me. Baoyi said with a smile. Baoyi cursed the master in his heart. Now you have no money and come to me for guarantee. I don't think you will share my points when you win in the future. We are all witnesses. Whoever loses and doesn't pay can't leave. Yes, we testify. We testify. Whoever refuses to testify will not be let off. The people below shouted one after another. It was so exciting to watch today's excitement, except for those who failed in gambling on stones. But the depressed mood of these people was also relieved at this time. Their attention was all on Su Weifeng and Baoyi, wanting to see what the final result of this 10 million gambling would be. Young man, you go first. Baoyi made a gesture of invitation and said confidently. Master, you are welcome. Come together. Su Weifeng said with a smile. The master smiled and agreed. Su Weifeng and the master each searched in the field. Qiao followed Su Weifeng closely, more nervous than Su Weifeng, but did not dare to speak. Just now, he heard that the boss would also gamble on stones. He didn't know if the boss could do it. The master still held a magnifying glass in one hand and a purple light in the other. He was also ruthless and walked directly to the innermost area. The gambling stones in this area were the most expensive, but the probability of producing top quality stones was also the highest. He picked a huge stone that was as tall as a person. This was also the largest piece of raw stone here. If this gambling stone could produce jade, it would be of an astonishing size, and it would be easy to sell it at a sky-high price. The master knocked on the edge of the huge stone bit by bit, not missing any inch of the area, and was more serious than treating a beautiful woman. Everyone has seen the master's technique. Many people use the same technique to select gambling stones, but everyone has never heard of Su Weifeng's method. Su Weifeng did not go to the innermost area, but started to select in the middle area. Su Weifeng did not use a magnifying glass or some purple light. He just picked up a stone. When he saw it, held it with both hands, and then closed his eyes. In less than half a minute, he put it down again, and then the next one, held it up, and closed his eyes. Chapter 838 Top Jade. What is this guy doing? Telepathy? A young man asked. Come on, I've been gambling on gemstones for so many years, and I've never seen anyone bet on gemstones like this. They're just pretending. His companion said disdainfully. Professor Chen is the real master of gambling on gemstones. Look how professional his technique is. And Master Chen is also a treasure appraiser. He can tell which dynasty antiques are from, let alone gambling on gemstones. Then why did all 10 people fail just now? The success rate is 0. Someone else questioned. It may be that Master Chen has something to do and is in a hurry to leave. Besides, he is definitely not as serious as he would bet on himself, so it just happened that his idea was wrong. Fans are still making up all kinds of reasons for Master Chen. Who is this guy? How can he be so rich? Maybe he is also a master, but we don't know him. Otherwise, how dare he bet tens of millions of dollars with Master Chen? Such a rich person should not be stupid. Su Weifeng was still feeling the true key reaction in the gambling stones. He had already selected 7 or 8 gambling stones. There were also a few of them that had true key reactions, but they were not strong. However, the true key reactions of each gambling stone were different. Some were strong and some were weak. This made Su Weifeng confirm his idea that these jades contained true key, and the better the texture of the jade, the greater the strength of the true key. After confirming this, Su Weifeng smiled. This was like a cheat. You were gambling, and I was trying one by one, which was just more time consuming. After testing in the middle area, Su Weifeng also had a bottom line in his heart. There were 2 raw stones in this area. The true key reaction inside was very strong, much stronger than other gambling stones. Su Weifeng secretly memorized these 2 gambling stones and came to the vicinity of the master again. At this time, the master was still studying the human-shaped boulder and seemed very satisfied. Su Weifeng also walked to the master's side and put his hand on the boulder. Before he could sense it, the master shouted, "I want this gambling stone." Master Chen was afraid that Su Weifeng would take the gambling stone first. He was confident that this gambling stone would definitely produce a top quality product. Master Bao, how much is it? Master Chen asked. 5 million. Master Bao was very happy and the smile on his face became even more intense. So expensive. Master Chen did not expect it to be so expensive. He estimated that the original stone would be about 2 million, but he did not expect it to be twice as expensive. This is US dollars. This old man is really evil. He is even cheating me. Master Chen frowned and did not look at Master Bao. Master Bao seemed to have seen what Master Chen was thinking and said, "I'm not cheating you. This rough stone is the largest here. It's very rare to mine such a large rough stone. It's already very expensive, and this huge rough stone usually has a very high chance of producing a high-priced jadeite. I don't believe you. Master Chen is not that easy to fool. He knows these antique dealers too well. What they say is not true. It's useless to deal with them and listen to them. You have to see it with your own eyes and experience it. I want this one." Master Chen gritted his teeth and said he saw that there must be jadeite in this gambling stone. No matter whether it is a high price or not, it will be no problem to beat that kid. Even if this stone doesn't make much money, the 10 million is enough. Master Bao didn't let the technician open the stone, but waited for Su Weifeng to finish his selection. Then the 2 gambling stones would be opened together, so that the winning and losing would be more obvious and everyone would be more exciting. Su Weifeng did not delay and started to choose in this high-end area. He finally locked on a very smooth black stone. The surface of this rough stone was black, and the hole was close to a perfect circle. It was as big as a football, and it looked very abrupt here. "I want this one," Su Weifeng said with a smile. "Boy, you are really looking for death. It is impossible to cut anything out of this shape. The traces of post-polishing are too obvious. You are betting with me with this level? Ha 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 ha." Master Chen was relieved when he saw the rough stone selected by Su Weifeng. The rough stone with such neat shapes has basically been processed, and it is basically impossible to cut out good things. "Brother, change it quickly. I don't think this one is good." Leo Kan shouted anxiously. He was anxious for Su Weifeng. Is he going back to play football? Ha ha ha. Someone laughed. "Look at what you are pretending to be." I thought you were a master. After all this time, you are still at this level. You are not as good as me. How much is it, Master Bao? Su Weifeng gestured to Master Bao and wanted this one. This rough stone is worth $1 million US. Don't be fooled by its appearance, but it was mined from the same place as this rough stone, so there is a great chance of getting a top quality stone. Baoyi thought the price was a bit high and hurriedly explained that he himself didn't think much of this gambling stone, but only put it in his mouth because it came from the same area as a human-shaped gambling stone. Su Weifeng didn't waste any words and directly transferred the money to Baoyi and prepared to cut the stone. Baoyi called the technicians, and they also followed the order. The master had finished the selection first, so he would cut the master's piece first. Wait, I'll cut it myself. The master suddenly shouted. Everyone looked at the master in confusion. Aren't gambling stones usually cut by technicians? Why did the master cut it himself today? Is he better at cutting stones? Baoyi knew that the master was afraid that the technician would cut the gambling stone badly. After all, the price of this gambling stone was also sky high, tens of millions of RMB, so it was normal for the master to be cautious, so he nodded in agreement. Because the gambling stone selected by the master was too big, with the help of 7 or 8 staff members, the gambling stone was lifted to the workbench. Chuzio looked at the human-shaped rough stone for a while, and then looked at the football held by the boss. He felt that he had lost. Although the master's gambling stone was more expensive than the boss's football, it was also larger in size. The master's gambling stone was more than 10 times larger than the boss's football. The master rubbed his arm, picked up the cutting tool, and began to cut. However, the master did not cut it from the middle, but cut it down from the outer skin little by little. He wanted to keep the integrity of the jade to the maximum extent, so that the value would be the highest. The human-shaped rough stone quickly lost a circle. The weight loss was successful, but no green light was seen. The hearts of those fans were lifted. The master would not fail again. They couldn't help but think of the word again. The master was not panicked. He was very sure that this rough stone would definitely produce jade, and the quality was not low, but he had no way to determine the size. The master continued to carefully peel off the stone layer by layer. After peeling off more than half of the human-shaped stone, a green mark was revealed. The fans were excited and cheered. The master also smiled, and he had won. It took more than an hour to finally cut the stone. The stone was half a meter long, which could be regarded as a large jadeite. The color was also gorgeous and full of water. It was completely top-grade jadeite. Chapter 839 Purple Jade. The master grinned and laughed. He knew that he had made a lot of money this time. Not only could this piece of jade be sold at a sky-high price, but he could also win tens of millions of dollars by beating that kid. His eyes were full of gold. Master Bao. Master Chen called to Master Bao, motioning him to quote a price. Master Bao was just marveling at the size and appearance of this piece of jade, and only reacted when Master Chen called him. Based on the size of this piece of jade, it is also a top-grade product, and it should be worth no less than tens of millions. Master Bao exclaimed. But this piece is too big, and the internal situation cannot be seen. I have to use professional instruments to measure it in a while, before I can quote an accurate price. Let's open the stone for this gentleman first, and then we can carefully test the master's gambling stone. Master Bao added. The master also agreed. This was within his expectations. If there were no cracks inside, the price of this gambling stone would be even higher. Even if there were cracks, it would probably be worth tens of millions. Wait, I'll open it myself. Su Weifeng stopped the technician who was really going to open the stone, and walked to the workbench himself. The technician was depressed. It was fine that the master looked down on my level, but you, a kid who knew nothing, didn't believe me either. I was so shocked. The audience below also made contemptuous voices, thinking that Su Weifeng was pretending again. The master did the same thing, which was a master's style, but Su Weifeng was pretending. Su Weifeng turned a deaf ear to these voices, and focused all his energy on the stone in his hand. He also used the same method as the master, cutting from the outer layer little by little, striving to achieve the biggest and most perfect effect. Soon there was a pile of stone chips around him, and the football was about to become a volleyball, but it was still black and nothing could be seen. Qiao clenched his hands tightly, his heart was in his throat, and his face was flushed because of nervousness. Suddenly, people exclaimed. After the volleyball in Su Weifeng's hand shrank by half, it finally showed a little color, but it was not green, but dark purple brown. Too many impurities. Bao Yi shook his head and sighed. Boy, you lost. Master Chen laughed loudly. My boss hasn't finished cutting yet, so it's still unclear who will lose. Chu Xiaotu retorted, but she was very uneasy in her heart. Lao Kan also shook his head secretly, getting angry for this little brother, who lost a lot today. Su Weifeng was unmoved, and continued to cut on his own, his hands getting faster and faster. He could already tell the thickness of the stone skin by the induction of true Qi, cutting slowly in the thin parts and boldly cutting in the thick parts. Purple, it's purple. Lao Kan was the first to shout. It's really purple. Is this jade or something else? The people below said. Is it purple jade? It shouldn't be, I haven't seen purple jade. The people below were shocked by the jade in Su Weifeng's hand. It was the first time they saw this color in gambling on stones. Finally, Su Weifeng's rough stone was cut, and it was a piece of purple jade with shining purple light and moist and pressing. The whole piece of jade was moist and transparent, full of purple, as if it was a fairy stone. Ah, it's purple jade, it's purple jade. Bao Yi of the treasure pavilion shouted loudly, grabbed the purple jade, and wanted to hold it in his mouth. Impossible, this is impossible, how can there be purple jade? Master Chen sat down on the ground, muttering silently, as if he had suffered a great blow. Too beautiful. Chu Xiaotu's eyes sparkled, and he looked at the purple jade with an obsessed look. Suddenly, he went up, and snatched it from Bao Yi's hand, holding it in his arms, and couldn't bear to let go. Bao Yi frowned and wanted to snatch it back, but when he saw Su Weifeng's warning eyes, he stopped again. Sir, this is a very rare purple jade, which is a jade that is even better than the best. It is considered a royal level in jade. You must sell it to me. Our treasure pavilion will offer 50 million. What do you think? Bao Yi said very nervously. 50 million US dollars, that's several hundred million RMB. Crazy, I'm going crazy. Someone below shouted. I'm rich, boss, Yorick. Chu Xiaotu also said excitedly. Su Weifeng ignored Bao Yi and took the purple jade from Chu Xiaotu. He found that purple air was slowly drifting out. This situation had not happened before. Su Weifeng felt it in his hand. This purple air was actually true Qi. The purple true Qi was spreading out at this moment. Su Weifeng wanted to stop the true Qi from spreading, but it didn't work. Suddenly, he thought of a way. Why not practice true Qi to see if he could absorb this purple true Qi? Su Weifeng thought of this and started practicing decisively. Sure enough, the direction of the purple air changed. It was no longer vertically upward, but drifted towards Su Weifeng and slowly entered Su Weifeng's body. Of course, no one could find this phenomenon. They didn't have true Qi, let alone see the spread of this true Qi. In less than a minute, all the purple true Qi was sucked into Su Weifeng's body and slowly gathered in his danshan, which was completely different from his own white true Qi that was wandering in the meridians of his body. At this time, the purple jade no longer emitted purple air. Su Weifeng suddenly understood why the jade he had seen before had no true energy. It should be that the true energy was not strong enough, or that after it was mined, it was directly dissipated without the protection of the stone shell. At this time, the purple jade was still so moist, as if the disappearance of the true energy had no effect on it. People noticed Su Weifeng's dull appearance just now, but no one thought about cultivation. For ordinary people, cultivation existed only in myths and stories. Everyone thought that Su Weifeng's appearance just now was too surprised and stunned. Seeing that Su Weifeng had reacted at this time, Bao Yi hurried forward again. Sir, our treasure pavilion is willing to buy this piece of jade for 50 million US dollars. What do you think? Bao Yi made his attitude humble enough. Su Weifeng smiled and looked at Bao Yi, then looked at Chu Xiaotu's reluctant look, and smiled secretly. Today, he really had to thank this little girl, but not because of how much money he made, but because of this purple true energy, which was definitely not an ordinary thing. I won't sell this piece of jade. Su Weifeng smiled and said to Bao Yi, ah, Bao Yi was stunned. He didn't expect Su Weifeng to refuse this price. This was definitely a sky-high price. Moreover, his return was not low, which was already very conscientious. We can discuss the price. I offer 60 million. This is the highest price I can offer. I believe that, even if it is other shops, no one's price will be higher than mine. Bao Yi thought that Su Weifeng wanted to go to other shops to inquire about the price first and strive for the greatest benefit, so he hurriedly said, "It's not a matter of price. I want to keep this jade for processing myself, and I don't lack money." Su Weifeng said with a chuckle. His eyes were calm. Chapter 840 Jade Encased in Stone. This time, Bao Yi understood that this young man didn't want a high price. It seemed that he really didn't care about money. This was difficult to deal with. But when he heard that Su Weifeng wanted to process it, he immediately became excited. "What do you want to process, sir?" "Our treasure pavilion has the best processing master in the whole Galan. He was invited from China. Even if it was placed in the whole country of K, it would be ranked first. The only thing is that the processing fee is a bit expensive." Bao Yi said enthusiastically, which was completely different from the professional fake smile just now. "Let's study the processing problem later. You should give Master Chen a price first, so as to determine the win or loss of our bet," Su Weifeng said, and handed the purple jade to Chu Zio2. Chu Zio2 couldn't let it go. He took the purple jade and stroked it over and over again, and took a few selfies with his mobile phone from time to time. Bao Yi then remembered that the bet was not over yet, so he quickly asked someone to bring a machine, turned it on, put the master's jade in, and started the machine. The machine roared and started running, and finally printed out a report. Master Chen waited anxiously. He knew that he had already lost. Bao Yi had already offered a sky-high price of 60 million for Su Weifeng's purple jade. Even if his jade was flawless inside, it could not reach this price. No matter how much more, it would not exceed 15 million. However, it was enough to pay Su Weifeng's 10 million bet. Now he just hoped to sell it at a higher price and make a profit of 5 million from the gambling stone. Only in this way could he break even. Bao Yi took the report handed over by his subordinates, frowned, and remained silent for a long time. Everyone was waiting for Bao Yi's result, and finally Bao Yi spoke. "Master, we can't accept this jade," Bao Yi said in a deep voice. "What?" The master was stunned. He didn't expect such a result at all. "Why can't we accept it?" the master shouted excitedly. "We have tested it through radioactivity. The texture inside is very uneven and the density is also very different. It is very likely a piece of jade wrapped in stone." Bao Yi shook his head and said, How can jade wrapped in stone be jade wrapped in stone?" The master was stunned, obviously unable to accept this result. "Master Bao, what is jade encased in stone?" "Yes, what does jade encased in stone mean? How come I've never heard of it? It should be a piece of stone inside the jade." The audience below was also very puzzled and asked questions one after another. Jade encased in stone is a special case of jade formation, caused by geological changes and environmental changes. This situation is very rare. Simply put, the inside of this piece of jade is not all jade, but stone. As for how thick the outer layer of jade is, this can only be seen by cutting it open. Master Bao saw that everyone was asking questions, so he explained. Master Chen was still not giving up, and really cut the big jade himself. As a result, there was really stone inside, only a layer of jade on the outside. The area of the jade cutout was quite large, but not very thick. Fortunately, the appearance was quite perfect, and finally it was bought by Master Bao for 1 million. Although the master was distressed, he had no choice. It was better to sell it for 1 million than to be worthless. In this case, he would have to pay Master Bao 4 million for gambling on the stone and Su Weifeng 10 million for the bet. The master scraped together the money and paid it, then hurriedly left through the back door. Today, he had lost both his wife and his army. Not only did he suffer heavy losses, but he also lost face. He could not expect to stay here anymore. The onlookers slowly dispersed, and Su Weifeng and Chu Zio2 followed Bao Yi to the VIP room to study the purple jade. "Sir, what do you want to process it into?" "I can call our processing master right now," Bao Yi said with a smile. "Just process it into a jade bracelet." Su Weifeng thought for a while and said, "How much is the processing fee?" Su Weifeng said casually, "He made another 10 million today, which was less than 100 million. He didn't care about the processing fee. How about this, sir? This time I will definitely let the master process a perfect jade bracelet for you, and the processing fee will not be charged, but you have to agree to one request of mine." Baoyi said tentatively. "Oh, what request?" Su Weifeng looked at Baoyi with interest. "After processing this piece of purple jade into a jade bracelet, there won't be much left, but there will still be some scraps. You have to promise me to sell the remaining scraps to me. You can't do anything with the scraps," Baoyi said expectantly, staring into Su Weifeng's eyes. "That's easy, but the premise is that you have to process this jade bracelet for me," Su Weifeng said with a smile. "Don't worry about that. Our processing masters are famous in the industry, domestically." Baoyi praised the processing masters of his treasure pavilion again. Baoyi called an old man overnight, who should be the master he mentioned. The processing master was very unhappy at first, being called in late at night, but when he saw the purple jade in Su Weifeng's hand, all his anger disappeared, and his eyes revealed ecstasy. He has been in this industry for decades, but has never processed jade of this level. He is excited, and this will also be a milestone in his future career. The old man's craftsmanship was very exquisite. Even without Baoyi's instructions, he dared not be negligent in the slightest. He wanted to create the most perfect bracelet. After a few hours, the old man finally succeeded in creating a perfect purple jade bracelet. He could make a bracelet in more than 10 minutes, but this one took several hours, which was enough to show his dedication. Su Weifeng was very satisfied with the old man's skills, and gave him a thank you fee of $1,000. As for the remaining scraps, there were enough to make some small items such as rings and Buddha amulets, so he sold them to Baoyi. Baoyi offered a price of $1 million, and Su Weifeng didn't care, and made the deal. Baoyi sent Su Weifeng and Chu Xiaotu to the door. At this time, it was already dawn. Chu Xiaotu held the box containing the jade bracelet, and guessed in her heart that the boss gave this jade bracelet to his girlfriend. What kind of woman is his girlfriend? This is worth 400 million yuan. I can't afford it, even if I sell it. The boss is really good to his girlfriend. Take it out and wear it, Su Weifeng said casually. Chu Xiaotu didn't think much about it, thinking that the boss wanted her to help try out the effect, so she carefully took out the jade bracelet and put it on her wrist. The purple jade bracelet was as warm as water. Facing the morning sun, it seemed as if there was water flowing inside. Wearing it on Chu Xiaotu's white and delicate wrist, it complemented each other, and Chu Xiaotu seemed to have a fairy-like aura. Perfect. Su Weifeng looked at Chu Xiaotu in the morning sun, and couldn't help but sigh. The size is quite suitable, Su Weifeng said with a smile. When processing, the old man asked him about the size. Su Weifeng said that he just needed to make it according to Chu Xiaotu's arm. Unexpectedly, the size was just right. Chu Xiaotu looked at the jade bracelet on her hand, and couldn't take her eyes off it. After wearing it for a while, she took it off reluctantly. Chapter 841 I'll give you. Wear it, why take it off? Su Weifeng said with a smile. It's not a gift for me. If it breaks again, I can't afford to pay for it. This is 400 million. Even if I sell myself, I can't afford to pay for it, Chu Xiaotu said with a sour heart. She also knew that this jade bracelet was not so easy to break. The old man told them after processing it. This kind of jade was the hardest jade he had ever encountered, so it took so long to process it. This jade bracelet is not afraid of ordinary bumps at all, and its hardness is higher than that of ordinary jade. Haha, it's a gift for you, put it on quickly, Su Weifeng said with a smile. Ah. Chu Xiaotu was startled, and thought he had heard it wrong. Yes, it's a gift for you. Su Weifeng saw Chu Xiaotu's unbelieving look, rolled his eyes, and confirmed it. Chu Xiaotu was stunned. This is 400 million, and he gave it to me. Is he going to support me? No, how can he support me with 400 million? He is buying me, but I'm not worth so much money. Chu Xiaotu was thinking wildly in her heart. Are you trying to seduce me? You're spending too much money, Chu Xiaotu said with a red face. Yes, is this jade bracelet enough for you to pledge your love to me? Su Weifeng said with a deliberate smirk. Rogue, what do you think of me? Chu Xiaotu said angrily. But this jade bracelet is too tempting. I can't bear to take it off. Otherwise I can't do it. Chu Xiaotu, how can you sell yourself for money? Don't you look down on girls like this the most? I didn't sell myself. I just like this purple jade bracelet too much. Can I take such a valuable gift? Chu Xiaotu was struggling with herself. No, I can't sell myself for the jade bracelet, even though I like it very much. Chu Xiaotu's face was full of struggle and finally made a decision, reluctantly taking off the jade bracelet. Su Weifeng didn't take it and was very surprised. He didn't expect that this girl could withstand such temptation. This is not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, and jade is something that women can't resist. He nodded secretly. I'm just kidding you. Money is useless to me. You can see that I'm not short of money. I gave it to you because you like it. Don't think too much. Su Weifeng said casually. I really didn't ask me to give it to you, but it's too expensive. Chu Xiaotu said with some hesitation. Why do you want me to give it to you? I feel too good about myself. I just gave it to you to play with. You helped me a lot yesterday, but this is a secret and I can't tell you. Do you want it? Su Weifeng said with a smile. Who feels good about himself? Humph, it turns out that I helped. Didn't I say that? Haha, I didn't expect me to be so powerful. Chu Xiaotu was angry at first, but then she was relieved. It turned out that she helped. Then I accepted it reluctantly, because I really like it. After returning home, Chu Xiaotu went to bed. He didn't sleep all night, and was too sleepy. Su Weifeng returned to his room, and sat cross-legged on the bed, sensing the purple true key in his danshan. But no matter how he summoned it, the true key did not move at all, and there was no way to mobilize it. Su Weifeng tried to use his own true key to contact the purple true key again, but his white true key seemed to be afraid of the purple true key. As soon as it reached the purple true key, his true key stopped. No matter how Su Weifeng urged it, he could not move forward. This result made Su Weifeng very depressed. He didn't know whether it was good or bad to absorb the purple true key into his body. The true key in Su Weifeng's body was also obtained by accident. It was not long after he entered Longzhou. The army arranged for him to go to Kunshan to perform an investigation mission. Kunshan is known as the Sacred Mountain. It is completely an uninhabited area with wild beasts rampant. There are even many wild beasts that have not been recorded in modern society. Su Weifeng once encountered a white bear. This white bear was huge, half the size of an ordinary brown bear. Su Weifeng only knew that polar bears were white before, and had never heard of white bears in the primeval forest. He also thought it was a mutated black bear or brown bear, just like a white tiger. He was very curious, so he secretly followed the white bear to his cave. After the white bear left the cave, he sneaked into the white bear's cave and found a torn book in the dry grass where the white bear was sleeping. The handwriting on it was no longer clear, and only the 3 words at the back could be vaguely seen. Shanti. Su Weifeng took a rough look and found that there were human figures drawn on each page, and many acupuncture points were marked on it. There were black lines connecting the acupuncture points, and there were simple text notes on the side. At that time, Su Weifeng didn't take it seriously, thinking it was an ordinary martial arts secret book. After all, some secret books such as Yi Jingjing and Dali Jinggang Palm are also commonly seen on street stalls. However, there were very few people who bought it. Few people would believe in such a crudely printed thing. Su Weifeng was the same. He also thought this torn Shanti was something like Yi Jingjing. But this is Kunshan. It is already strange that things from human society can appear here, not to mention that it is a martial arts secret book. Could it be that some guy brought a fake secret book to sell to the bear? How much patience this person has. Thinking of this, Su Weifeng still put this unknown body refining method into his bag. After completing the mission and returning to the army, Su Weifeng did not hand in this body refining method. It was not that he wanted to embezzle it, but he did not think it was anything. If others knew about this, they would be laughed to death. The requirements of this body refining method are very strict. It requires an extremely strong body and precise muscle control to practice. The body strengthening method he gave to Feng Daoer at the beginning was a simplified version of the physical training in the front of this body refining method. This is not something that ordinary people can stick to. At that time, Feng Daoer survived the alternation of life and death every day. But the physical requirement is not a big problem for Su Weifeng. Long Zio's training is strict, and Su Weifeng is even more determined. It took half a year for Su Weifeng to completely reach the minimum practice standard of this body refining method. That is, the physical body can carry true energy. Su Weifeng didn't believe in this fake secret book, but he was tenacious and wanted to try it out himself to see if the secret book found in Kunshan was fake. Then Su Weifeng began to practice according to the pictures on the body refining book. He first recognized the acupuncture points, memorized them, understood the connection and direction between the acupuncture points, and then sensed the key. Finally, one midnight, Su Weifeng sat in front of a big tree, trying to relax his consciousness and feel the key mentioned in the book. He didn't know how long he stayed in this state. The sky gradually became gloomy, and thunder and lightning mixed with rain fell from the sky. Su Weifeng did not give up practicing. He actually felt a little breath at this time. Although it was very weak, it was real. Chapter 842 Midnight Training. Su Weifeng was ecstatic. He didn't care about the wind, rain, thunder and lightning. He let the rain hit him. The air around him was getting stronger and stronger. Su Weifeng practiced hard all night in the thunderstorm. When the first ray of sunlight rose in the morning, he finally cultivated the first ray of true ki in his body. This also made Su Weifeng know that this secret book was not a fake secret book, but a powerful martial arts secret book. Unfortunately, the heavy rain that night turned the already broken secret book into debris and completely destroyed it. Su Weifeng practiced true ki according to his memory, and his own true ki also reached a bottleneck. The true ki had reached the limit and he couldn't have more. This was also the reason why he tried to absorb the purple true ki into his body. He didn't expect that he could really absorb it, but unfortunately he couldn't mobilize it. Su Weifeng had true ki, but he didn't know how to use it. The current true ki use was completely figured out by himself, so he was also very curious about the hidden family. In the middle of the night, Qiao Yushan finally woke up. When he saw the time, he screamed and hurriedly packed himself up and rushed to work. Su Weifeng did not go to the bar. The bar was now on track. He believed that no one around would cause trouble, and he was happy to be free. At midnight, Su Weifeng walked out of the hotel alone. He had not been active for a long time. Although he was exercising, after leaving the army, the intensity and frequency of exercise were very different. Tonight he came out to exercise and practice his true ki to see if the purple true ki could resonate with him. Su Weifeng jogged all the way, but it was difficult for him to sweat at this intensity. After running for almost 2 hours, he finally ran to a park on the outskirts of the city. Su Weifeng walked slowly into the park. There were no amusement facilities in the park. It would be more appropriate to call it a botanical garden. A small river ran through the entire park, and there were trees everywhere. The atmosphere at midnight was particularly cool. Su Weifeng smiled slightly. He was quite satisfied with this place. He found a big tree by the river and sat down. The tree was more than one person thick, and was quite old. Listening to the sound of the river flowing and feeling the cool air that made his paws relax, Su Weifeng slowly closed his eyes, and his whole mind was feeling the purple true ki in his body. This true ki seemed to like this environment very much, and it slowly moved around in his danshan, but the range of movement was still very small, and Su Weifeng couldn't influence it at all. Su Weifeng didn't give up, and was still feeling it seriously. A crisp girl's voice came. This was a tall young girl wearing a red Nike sportswear, with 2 Neza buns, with a delicate face, beautiful and full of agility. Grandpa, it seems that someone has occupied your place. The girl's crisp voice continued. It seems to be true. Haha, young people nowadays are really hard working. An old man in a white training suit said with a smile, and looked at the watch. It was only 4 o'clock in the morning. Grandpa, I'll drive him away. This is the place where Grandpa practices every day. The girl said a little unhappy. They came here first. How can we be so unreasonable? Let's stay here today. The old man touched the girl's hair lovingly and pointed to a big tree behind the big tree where Su Weifeng was standing. The old man and the girl came to the tree, which was also very thick. They first moved their legs and feet, and then started to move their hands. The movements changed from slow to fast. This was a set of boxing, sometimes gentle and sometimes like a storm. Su Weifeng was also awakened by the movement outside at this time. He sighed that his vigilance had dropped too much. He didn't realize until someone came to him. This was also because he had used all his body and mind to comprehend the purple true energy. Su Weifeng opened his eyes and saw the old and the young. The young girl was about 20 years old. She was very skilled in boxing, but she only had the form, but not the spirit, and lacked strength. Su Weifeng could foresee that the girl's boxing, which seemed like a storm, would not cause any damage to him, even if it hit him. He couldn't help, but shook his head secretly. The old man made Su Weifeng's eyes light up, because he had just realized the true key, and now his 5 senses were quite sharp to the breath. He sensed that the old man's boxing had a sense of ki, and every punch he threw had a breath that could not be seen by the naked eye gushing out of his fist. Su Weifeng had no way to determine whether it was the inner ki or the true ki. At this time, the girl had finished a set of boxing and was already panting with exhaustion. She took out a tissue and wiped the sweat from her head. After a while, the old man also finished a set of boxing, but his face was calm, and his breath was long and smooth, but his face was a little ruddy. Zia King, you have to work hard. You have practiced our family's traditional boxing for 3 years, and now you don't have any charm. The old man was also silently paying attention to his granddaughter while boxing, and shook his head helplessly. Grandpa, my current level is already very good. I performed for my classmates, and they were all surprised. They didn't expect me to be so good. Zia King said unconvinced. Our Han family's boxing is for actual combat. How can we use it for performance? Besides, what do those little girls know? They will scream when they see a muscular man doing fitness. The old man was so angry at his granddaughter that he rolled his eyes. I have fought in actual combat, and the boys in our school's taekwondo club are no match for me. The girl argued. Why don't you fight with those who practice square dancing? The old man said with regret. Haha, Su Weifeng couldn't hold back his laughter. The girl and the old man were attracted by the laughter, and the girl glared at Su Weifeng, which was obviously a joke to her. My dear little brother, please forgive me. The old man looked at Su Weifeng kindly and smiled. His expression was a little embarrassed. Because Su Weifeng had been closing his eyes and didn't respond, he forgot that there was another person, so he scolded his granddaughter. Haha, what you said is indeed very right. Little Neza can really beat those who practice square dancing at this level. Su Weifeng said with a smile, and he didn't notice that the girl's face was as hen, and her eyes were about to spit fire. She was usually a beautiful lady who paid attention to her image. She didn't pay attention to her hairstyle during the morning exercise and just tied it up casually. She was actually called Little Neza by this boy, which made her so angry. He also said that he could beat those who practiced square dancing, which meant that he could only beat old ladies. This was intolerable. Boy, are you very powerful? You must be practicing advanced martial arts while meditating there. Is it the divine wandering method or the dream of Zhao Gong? The girl sneered. Su Weifeng slowly stood up, looked at the girl, shook his head, smiled slightly and was about to leave. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 843 Little Neza. Su Weifeng's own ki didn't make much progress, and since there were more people doing morning exercises, he was about to leave, but he was stopped just as he asked. Boy, stop. Since you said I can only beat the square dance aunties, let's have a competition. Let me see what your strength is, and whether you can beat the square dance aunties. The girl gritted her teeth and said. She was very confident in her boxing skills. She didn't expect to be despised by a brat. How could she not be angry? I don't know any martial arts, and I don't like fighting and killing. I'm not interested in competing with you. Su Weifeng didn't have time to play house with the little girl here, and there were not many people who could compete with him. Humph, didn't you look down on my boxing skills just now? Why are you so scared now? You didn't practice just talking skills, did you? The girl snorted disdainfully. Little brother, we are all martial artists, so it's okay to have a little exchange. Besides, although my granddaughter is not very good at the Han family's boxing, she has been practicing since she was a child. You can help her with some pointers. The old man said with a smile, but he was also a little angry. He could despise his granddaughter, but not others. Saying that my granddaughter's boxing can only beat the square dancant, doesn't this mean that the Han family's boxing is not good? He forgot at this time that he had just said so. Su Weifeng shook his head and wanted to leave, but looking at the girl who had already set up her posture and stood in front of him with a cold face, Su Weifeng sighed. This was forcing him to do something. If he didn't do it, he would be laughed at to death. What is the most important thing for a man? Face. Well, I'll be gentle. Come on, little Nessa. Su Weifeng sighed and stopped. Don't call me little Nessa, the girl shouted with a cold face. At the same time, she threw a punch at Su Weifeng. Her punch was an empty punch. The real killer move was the back punch. However, no matter it was an empty punch or a real punch, it was useless to Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng did not move his feet, and his upper body swayed left and right like a tumbler. He dodged every punch by a hair's breadth, which made the girl anxious. Every time he was always a little short. After a few combination punches, the girl became more serious, and her punches became faster and faster. It was really like a storm, and the shadows of the punches in the sky enveloped Su Weifeng. But Su Weifeng still swayed left and right, completely dodging all the girl's attacks, and he always had a smile on his face, without any panic. The girl was also surprised and doubtful. She knew her punch speed best. It might be a little bit weaker in strength, but the speed was definitely fast enough. The combination punches of ordinary boxers might not be as fast as hers. If she defended, it would be barely acceptable, but she dodged all of them. After her set of punches, she didn't even touch the boy's hair. That's enough. The old man's voice came. The girl put down her fist after hearing her grandfather's voice, and said to the old man in dissatisfaction, Grandpa, I haven't used my full strength yet. If I'm faster, I will definitely be able to defeat him. The old man was surprised, even frightened. The young man's body movements were too fast. He didn't fight back at all, let alone defend. He just dodged all the attacks of his granddaughter. Even he himself couldn't do this. It was impossible for him to dodge all the violent punches of his granddaughter. You are not her opponent. She didn't even make a move. If she had, you would have been defeated long ago. The old man frowned and said, Little brother, my granddaughter is not your opponent. Let's have a fight. Please don't hold back. The old man took a step forward and said to Su Weifeng with a smile. Su Weifeng was very disdainful of fighting with the girl and was even more unwilling. However, when he heard that the old man wanted to fight with him, his eyes lit up. It was just what he wanted. By fighting with the old man, he could know whether the key in his boxing was true key or internal force. If it was true key, he could ask him about his doubts, which might be helpful for his understanding of the purple true key. Then I will ask the old man for advice. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Please. Please. The old man took the same starting position as the girl, but Su Weifeng felt completely different. The old man stood there with a strong aura emanating from his body. There was no flaw on his body, as if any attack would be fiercely counterattacked. This surprised Su Weifeng. He hadn't met such an opponent for a long time. This was a real master. Su Weifeng smiled lightly, put his hands on both sides of his body, and just stood there casually without any posture. This made the old man frown. This was not looking down on him. You are just bluffing. The girl snorted disdainfully. Su Weifeng still stood there, with no intention of attacking. The old man was unhappy. Good boy, you actually looked down on me. Today I will teach you young people not to be so arrogant, just because you have some skills. Thinking of the old man taking the lead, his fist appeared in front of Su Weifeng like a rain curtain, completely covering him. The old man sneered in his heart, let's see if you can still dodge my fist. Su Weifeng didn't actually want to hide. He just wanted to take the initiative, to feel the internal force on the old man's fist. Su Weifeng stretched out his right hand and suddenly grabbed forward. The old man was shocked. He didn't expect Su Weifeng to dare to grab his fist. This was much more difficult than fighting with himself. And could he find his real fist in the sky full of fist shadows? Impossible. This kid is really whimsical. But the next scene made him widen his eyes. He clearly felt that his right fist was really grabbed by a palm. Although he didn't use internal force, it was not something that ordinary people could grab with the strength of his body. The old man's eyes turned cold, and his internal force suddenly burst out from his fist. He wanted to use his internal force to shake the young man's palm away. At first, he really underestimated him, so he didn't use his internal force. But as long as he used his internal force, the young man would have no chance at all. The old man deliberately controlled the strength of his internal force so that he could just shake the young man away, but not hurt him. The internal injuries caused by internal force are not so easy to heal. But after the internal force burst out from his fist, the young man did not react at all. His palm was still tightly grasping his fist, and there was still a slight smile on his face, as if he was not affected at all. The old man was not calm this time. How could this be possible? He had clearly activated his internal force. Could it be that the internal force he activated was too little, and the young man's body was relatively strong, so he could withstand his internal force? Well, it is very likely to be the case. Chapter 844 Meridian Damage. The old man increased the output of his internal force this time, from 20% to 30%, 50%, 100%. The girl looked at the posture of her grandfather and the boy and wondered, what were they doing? They froze after just one encounter, and now they have been in this posture for a minute. Are they competing in internal force? The girl was surprised, but quickly denied this guess. It's impossible. How could this boy have internal force? I haven't practiced internal force for so many years. And it's impossible for grandpa to use internal force in a competition with this boy. This boy who doesn't know the height of the world is not worthy of grandpa using internal force. If grandpa uses internal force, he will vomit blood on the spot. The girl didn't know that it was her grandfather who wanted to vomit blood now. Her grandfather was not injured. He was depressed and aggrieved. I have practiced internal force for decades, but there is no reaction when I use it on this boy. If it weren't for the internal force surging in my body now, I would doubt whether I have internal force at all. Su Weifeng's face was calm at this time, and he carefully sensed the internal force coming from the old man's fist. After personal experience, he knew that the old man's internal force was not true ki, but internal force. The old man's internal force was strong and surging, but it could not cause any harm to him. His true ki completely offset the invasion of this internal force. This time, the opponent's internal force was much stronger than the Su family's kid. Su Weifeng now had a clearer concept of internal force. Internal force and true ki were both ki cultivated from the human body, but true ki was much more condensed than internal force. Just like water and heavy water, the density was completely different, and true ki could obviously suppress internal force. Your internal force is not flowing very smoothly. You must have suffered internal injuries before. Su Weifeng suddenly spoke. His words shocked the old man. How did this kid know that I was injured internally? And thinking about the ineffectiveness of his internal force on him, he immediately came to the conclusion that this kid was a master of internal family who was higher than himself. Otherwise he would not have discovered that he was injured internally. The old man also retracted his internal force at this moment. Feeling the disappearance of the internal force, Su Weifeng naturally let go of his hand. My friend is really an expert. I'm short-sighted today. I did suffer internal injuries. When I was young, I injured my meridians on the battlefield. Even though my internal force became stronger later, the damaged meridians still could not be restored to their original state. Alas. The old man sighed. This was also the regret of his life. He believed that with his talent, if he had not had this internal injury, his internal strength would definitely be much stronger than it is now. I don't know what sect or school you belong to. You are really a young talent. You can cultivate your internal force to this level at such a young age. The old man praised. I don't have a sect. I just practiced it casually. Su Weifeng said seriously. He was telling the truth. He just practiced his true energy blindly. Could it be that he was from the White Bear sect? White Bear beer is more like that. Haha, it seems that your master is very mysterious. No wonder he can teach such a talent as you. You can call me Leo Han, if you don't mind. This is my granddaughter Zaya King. The old man seemed to be very interested in Su Weifeng and introduced him with a smile. Seeing the old man's enthusiasm, Su Weifeng was embarrassed to pretend to be indifferent and hurriedly said, Leo Han, little Nasa, oh Zaya King, my name is Su Weifeng. I just arrived in country K and I came here to do something. Su Weifeng did not hide it and directly said his real name. His name was not a secret. So you are from China. I was wondering how there are such powerful young masters in country K. Ha ha ha. Leo Han said with a smile. Zaya King stared at Su Weifeng and was too lazy to pay attention to him. Leo Han, maybe I can help you treat your internal injuries. Su Weifeng suddenly said with a smile. What? Old Han was shocked. If someone else said this, he would definitely think it was a liar. His meridians were severely damaged. He didn't know how many famous doctors he had seen. He had visited all the famous Western and Chinese doctors, but they were all helpless. He didn't expect that this young man could actually cure him. Thinking of Su Weifeng's strength, he couldn't help but have more expectations in his heart. If you can really cure my injury, I will definitely not treat you unfairly. You can ask for anything. Old Han said excitedly. Grandpa, don't be fooled. This kid is obviously a liar. He is trying to cheat you out of money. How old is he? His hair hasn't grown yet. How can he treat you? Zaya King didn't believe Su Weifeng at all and said angrily. I want to be older than you. How do you know that my hair hasn't grown yet? Su Weifeng grinned and laughed. You hooligan, you make me angry. Zaya King was so angry that smoke was coming out of her head. She was about to teach this kid a lesson, but her grandfather stopped her. Zaya King, don't mess around. Su Xiaoyao is a man of real ability. Old Han glared at Zaya King and said, Old Han, I don't need any reward for treating you. It's fate that we met today. Su Weifeng shook his head and smiled. He was not interested in rewards. He had so much money that he couldn't remember how much money he had. When do you have time? Old Han said awkwardly. He also felt that he was a little too anxious. He didn't know if Su Xiaoyao was busy. Then tomorrow afternoon. Old Han, where do you live? I'll find you then. Su Weifeng said indifferently. Please write down Zaya King's phone number and ask Zaya King to pick you up. I'm old and often don't hear the ringtone of the mobile phone. Old Han said to Su Weifeng with a smile, secretly thinking in his heart, it would be great if this young man could be my grandson-in-law. Not only is he an internal martial arts master, but his character is also much better than the young people nowadays. He has strength, but is not arrogant. When he sees a beauty like his granddaughter, there is not a trace of evil thoughts in his eyes. He is an upright man. The more he thinks about Su Weifeng, the more satisfied he is. Why me? Just let him come by himself. Zaya King was very dissatisfied with her grandfather's arrangement, but she didn't dare to contradict her grandfather. She kicked the grass at her feet fiercely and muttered, see you tomorrow, Mr. Han. Goodbye, little Nissa. Su Weifeng exchanged phone numbers with Mr. Han, said hello to him and left. Grandpa, I don't want to pick up that kid. He is a liar. If you want anything else, just ask for it. If you want all your property, give it to me. Zaya King said to her grandfather angrily. Of course, I keep my word. I will agree to anything, even if it's my granddaughter. Mr. Han winked at Zaya King. Zaya King stamped her feet in anger and really wanted to go up and pull the old man's beard off. It was already dawn when Su Weifeng returned to his residence. Su Weifeng walked to his room lightly to avoid waking up Chu Xiao. But as soon as he opened the door, Chu Xiao's door opened. Chu Xiao was wearing cartoon pajamas, holding her waist with both hands, looking at Su Weifeng angrily. Chapter 845, Mr. Han's Commission. Boss, where did you go last night? You didn't come back all night. Chu Xiao said angrily. She was angry because her boss didn't come back all night, and she imagined a lot of inappropriate scenes. After she finished speaking, she felt something was wrong. Her tone seemed a little heavy. Isn't this what a wife says to her husband? She is just his employee, and it seems that she can't really control him. I didn't go anywhere. I went out to exercise. Su Weifeng was stunned by what he said. It's better not to tell Chu Xiaotu that he went to practice martial arts, otherwise he would have to explain the true key and so on. The more he said, the more complicated it became. He had to say that he was exercising, but exercising in the middle of the night seemed to be problematic. He didn't notice the problem with Chu Xiaotu's tone. HMPH. Chu Xiaotu snorted and went back to the room, slamming the door shut. She was so angry. Men are really no good. They will flirt with other women. What's wrong with me? Could it be that I like the boss? Of course not. How can I like this kind of man? He is not my type. I just care about him as an employee. Chu Xiaotu buried her head in the quilt and thought randomly. Su Weifeng was relieved when he saw Chu Xiaotu go back. He was afraid that Chu Xiaotu would pester him and ask questions. Fortunately, it's okay. After washing his face, Su Weifeng went to bed to make up for his sleep. He had been sleeping day and night in the past 2 days. Chu Xiaotu kept an eye on the boss's room. She came out several times to take a shower and watch TV, but there seemed to be no movement in the boss's room. She gently pushed the door and found it was not locked. Su Weifeng was sleeping soundly, going out to fool around at night and coming back to sleep during the day. It's really not a good thing, but she didn't wake up the boss and closed the door gently again. In the evening, the bar had just opened and no one was in yet. Chu Xiaotu and Mo Fei were hiding behind the bar. Boss lady, the boss is not coming again today? Mo Fei asked curiously. No, he's sleeping at home, Chu Xiaotu said angrily. She got angry when she thought of him. She didn't care about Mo Fei as boss lady. She got used to hearing it these 2 days. They could call her whatever they wanted. Your jade bracelet is so beautiful. This must be very expensive. Today, Chu Xiaotu wore the purple jade bracelet. Mo Fei noticed it and said in surprise. Haha, it was given by others. It's not worth much. Chu Xiaotu was very happy to see others praise her jade bracelet. Is it given by the boss? Mo Fei said with a smirk. Chu Xiaotu couldn't help blushing. This Fei sister is really good at guessing. The longer they get along with each other, the more they find that Fei sister is not as cold as she looks. She will also joke with herself. I helped him a lot, and she gave it to me. Chu Xiaotu wanted to say that it was given by others, but she never lied before, so she told the truth. The boss is really good to you. He gave you such a valuable thing. Mo Fei sighed. Do you know how to look at jade? How much do you think this jade bracelet is worth? Chu Xiaotu knew that this purple jade was very valuable. The purchase price of Baoi in the treasure pavilion was several 100 million yuan. The price of this processed jade bracelet must be higher. However, seeing that Sister Fei seemed to be very knowledgeable, she couldn't help but ask curiously. I have seen this kind of purple jade on a crown in a national exhibition. It is made of similar materials to your jade bracelet. This thing is priceless. You can't buy it, even if you have money. Generally, no one will sell it. Occasionally, a piece of it will be sold at an auction for a sky-high price. Mo Fei sighed. The gemstone on the crown. Chu Xiaotu said subconsciously. She knew it was a sky-high price. After hearing what Sister Fei said, she realized how rare this jade was. The crown was inlaid with it. It was really not something that ordinary people would sell. But the boss did not sell it, but made a bracelet for her. This made Chu Xiaotu's face a little hot again. Is that Su Xiaoyao? Su Weifeng had just woken up when a call came in. When Su Weifeng looked at the caller ID, it was none other than Mr. Han, whom he had just added today. Mr. Han, it's me. What's up? Let's make an appointment for tomorrow. Su Weifeng asked a little puzzled. Did he remember it wrong? And it was this afternoon? Yes, it's tomorrow. I have something I want to ask Mr. Su for help. I wonder if Mr. Su has time tonight. Mr. Han said with some expectation. Su Weifeng thought about it. It was a little late to go to the bar at this time, and there seemed to be nothing else to do. It's okay tonight. Is Mr. Han anxious? Haha, then I can go to treat you tonight. Su Weifeng said with a smile, guessing that Mr. Han must be impatient. If he knew that someone could treat his injuries, he would not be able to wait for a moment. It's not my business, it's Xia King's business. I want to ask Mr. Su for help. Mr. Han's voice came over. Little Neza. What does she need his help with? Su Weifeng thought about it and felt a little curious. What does Xia King need me for? Su Weifeng frowned. It's like this. Xia King's classmate is having a birthday party and asked Xia King to attend the party, but there are a few bad people there and they are targeting our Xia King. It's not convenient for an old man like me to go with her, so I want to ask Su Xiaoya to help me keep an eye on her. A girl in a foreign country needs to be careful. Han Leo said with some worry. So that's the case. That's fine. Su Weifeng thought about it, and it was also chaotic enough in country K. Besides, he had just said that he had nothing to do in the evening, so it would not be good to refuse again. Just go to the party. Anyway, he had nothing to do tonight. With Su Xiaoyao here, I feel relieved. Haha. Han Leo was overjoyed when he saw Su Weifeng agreed and said with a smile, I have already told Xia King, you two can contact each other later. Han Leo continued. After hanging up the phone, Han Leo was still smiling, very proud. Grandpa, I promised you, now you can leave. Xia King was right next to Han Leo and said angrily. Today, Xia King's classmates invited her to a party. The classmates invited Xia King, but Mr. Han did not allow Xia King to go, saying that those bad friends were not good people. Xia King was dissatisfied, but she really did not dare to go if her grandfather did not allow her to go. Grandpa's position in the whole family was unquestionable, and even her own father did not dare to disobey. After a lot of coquetry, Grandpa finally agreed. If Su Weifeng went with her, she would go, otherwise she would not go. Xia King did not want to take Su Weifeng with her. That guy was a liar, but seeing Grandpa's firm attitude, she knew that if she did not agree to take that guy with her today, she would not go either, so she had no choice but to agree. Xia King cursed Su Weifeng to death in her heart. She didn't know what kind of magic he used to brainwash Grandpa. Xia King was not stupid. Now it was obvious that Grandpa wanted to match her with that little liar, but who was this young lady? How could I fall for a little liar? When he treats you tomorrow, what will he say if he can't cure you? Chapter 846 Three Beauties. Little Neza, this is Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng called Xia King. Pa. The phone was hung up, which scared Su Weifeng. Xia King, your grandfather asked me to accompany you to the birthday party. Su Weifeng endured it and called again. He had promised Han Leo, and it would be bad if he didn't go. He was not a person who didn't keep his word. I know. Come to the gate of the royal square in the city center. Xia King said unhappily. She was forced by her grandfather, so it would be strange if she was happy. King, who called just now? A girl next to Xia King said. This girl was petite, but very beautiful, looking like a doll, and she was wearing some luxury brands. This was the protagonist of today's birthday, Wang Yui, the daughter of the Wang family in Z City, China, who also went abroad to gild herself. Yes, King, do you have a boyfriend? No wonder young master son couldn't catch up with you. Another girl smiled. This was a cold girl with a ponytail, but when she smiled, it was like ice and snow melting, even more beautiful, with a kind of cold and arrogant beauty. Don't mention it. My grandfather knows a liar who deceived my grandfather and wanted to match us up. This time, he asked this liar to accompany me. Otherwise, he would not let me attend Ruru's birthday party. Otherwise, he would not let me come. I'm so angry. Xia King said angrily. Your grandfather is also a big shot. We all know that the person he likes is definitely not an ordinary person. Where did this man come from? Let me see if he is better than our young master Sunday. Wang Yui said with a smile. What is his origin? He just came to country K. I don't even know if he was smuggled here. He knows a little boxing and kicking. How can he compare with brother Xia? Xia King said disdainfully. Since you still like young master son, why don't you agree to his pursuit? The cold girl joked. Yes, young master son will also come today. Do you want us to create some opportunities for you? Said the doll Wang Yui. I'm still testing him. This kind of family master is very fickle. He can't be easily obtained. Xia King said shyly. Haha, so my King has been attracted to her for a long time. This is a secret. How much can this secret be sold for? Wang Yui narrowed her eyes and smirked. You dare to say it? If you dare to say it, I will deal with you. Xia King came up and tickled Wang Yui. Wang Yui laughed and made a scene with Xia King. Okay, stop it. What are you going to do with this liar? People will be here soon. You have to think about it. We support you. The cold girl pulled Xia King and Wang Yui apart and said, yes, how can a liar compare with us? We are all people of status. Those ordinary people are not worthy of playing with us. It's even worse if they want to think about our kinking. This is like a toad wanting to eat swan meat. We have to deal with that guy and let him know that we are not the same kind of people. He can't afford us. Wang Yui narrowed her eyes and said, it would be best if she could give up when faced with difficulties. Otherwise, I will ask my Shen Zhao to take action and drive him out of Galan, so that he will not know what is good for him. Wang Yui said proudly. Shen Zhao is her boyfriend, from the Shen family in Z City. Like Wang Yui, he also went abroad to gain experience. His family power is a little bigger than Wang Yui's Wang family. There is a 5-star hotel in Galan that is owned by the Shen family. I don't like people like him. Don't worry about that. But don't make it too hard for him. After all, it was my grandfather who asked him to come. If he complains to my grandfather, I will be the one who suffers. Xia King said. Xia King also tacitly agreed with Wang Yui's words and taught the liar a lesson so that he could cheat his grandfather. Su Weifeng took a taxi to the Royal Plaza, which is the largest shopping mall in the city center. Su Weifeng did not see Xia King at the entrance of the mall. Before he could make a phone call, he saw 3 girls sitting in a cafe at the entrance and chatting. It's not that Su Weifeng has good eyesight, it's that these 3 girls are too beautiful. All 3 are beauties. It's true that birds of a feather flock together. Su Weifeng just glanced around and noticed them. Wait, why does that cold and beautiful girl look so familiar? Ah, it's her. Su Weifeng smiled. Xia King, I'm here. Su Weifeng walked into the coffee shop, and without being polite, he sat down between Xia King and the cold and beautiful girl and greeted her. The sudden appearance of this man startled several girls, and the cold and beautiful girl was the first to scream. Ah! The cold and beautiful girl screamed. This world famous person is so small, isn't this the pervert on the plane? The cold and beautiful girl was Xia Bing, who sat on Su Weifeng's right hand on the plane. When she came to Country K at that time, Xia Bing led Su Weifeng to the bathroom to teach him a lesson, but she didn't expect that Su Weifeng took advantage of her a lot. She really didn't want to see him again, and she didn't expect that the person her best friend brought was actually him. Bing Bing, do you know this liar? Xia King was the first to say, very confused. Didn't this liar say he just came to Country K? It seems that he is also a liar. But how did he know Bing Bing? Judging from Bing Bing's reaction, it seems that something has happened. Nothing. He just sat next to me on the plane and wanted to hit on me. King, be careful of this pervert. Xia Bing's smile disappeared when she saw Su Weifeng. Bing, what did he do to you? Did he make a move? Wang Yui also became interested and said excitedly. Xia Bing was so angry that she really wanted to beat Wang Yui. You are so excited about making a move. You are gloating. I don't think anything of her. You should ask what she wants to do to me. Su Weifeng said innocently. Xia Bing thought of the plot of herself leading him into the bathroom, and her face suddenly turned blue and red. Nonsense. There is nothing wrong with us. He just wanted my name and phone number, and I didn't give it to him. Xia Bing quickly made up a reason that she thought was perfect. Is it really just like that? Xia King said with some disbelief. Hey, she's right. She didn't even give me a phone number when I asked for it. Su Weifeng was about to retort when Xia Bing pinched his waist fiercely. The pain made Su Weifeng change his words immediately. Seeing Su Weifeng say this, Xia Bing quietly withdrew her hand and glared at Su Weifeng again. Su Weifeng also knew that he had taken advantage of her, so he didn't say anything. Seeing Xia Bing and Su Weifeng say this, Xia King and Wang Yui believed it. This kind of thing happens often, especially for beauties like them, who have also encountered this kind of thing on the plane. Are you the little liar? Wang Yui looked at Su Weifeng. He looked very ordinary, not tall and handsome. And his clothes were ordinary. There was no luxury brand that she was familiar with. In addition, he had just arrived in country K. Wang Rui had already classified him as an ordinary person and immediately said indifferently. Chapter 847 Young Master Shen. I'm not a little liar. My name is Su Weifeng. Little Nessa, you said it, right? Su Weifeng immediately understood the origin of the little liar. It must be Zyra King who said it. Don't call me Little Nessa. Zyra King said angrily. She was a long-haired beauty outside. She felt that her image was ruined by being called Little Nessa. Little Nessa. Haha. Wang Rui couldn't help laughing when she heard King calling her Little Nessa. She found that King was staring at her, so she quickly stopped and tried not to laugh. What background do you have, kid? You want to pursue our Miss King? Do you know how many suitors our Miss King has? The worst ones have to be from business families. What right do you have to pursue our King? Wang Rui looked at Su Weifeng's clothes again, and once again confirmed that he was not a loser, and said with disdain. King also glared at Su Weifeng. She wanted this liar to leave quickly, the farther the better, and not appear in front of her again. Don't worry, I don't mean to pursue Little Nessa. It's just that Mr. Han asked me to look after her. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the time to come here. Su Weifeng said casually, his eyes swept over the three girls calmly. You're smart. Wang Rui was very proud to see that the boy was scared as soon as she showed up. Don't call me Little Nessa, and I won't call you a little liar. Zyra King saw that Su Weifeng really didn't have any intentions on her, and her attitude softened. Deal. Su Weifeng smiled. Su Weifeng looked at the beauties. Zyra King was more sunny, probably because she had been practicing martial arts since she was a child. She was definitely a sunny and beautiful girl. Wang Rui was like a doll, with a small figure and big eyes, which would make people unconsciously want to protect her. Xia Bing was the other extreme of Zyra King, an iceberg beauty. She was okay with her best friends, but she never melted when she saw Su Weifeng. Pervert, what are you looking at? Xia Bing noticed Su Weifeng looking at her, and shouted in a low voice. Nothing, I didn't expect to meet you here, it's fate. Su Weifeng also whispered. At this time, Zyra King and Wang Rui were attracted by the situation outside. They looked outside together, and didn't pay attention to the two of them. Go away, who is destined to be with you? Xia Bing gritted her teeth. At this time, a group of young men and women in beautiful clothes were waving outside the glass window. A man in front of him was holding a large bouquet of roses, blocking his face. A rough estimate was that there were hundreds of roses. Let's go out, it's Shen Zhao and his friends. Wang Rui jumped up excitedly and ran out. Let's go too, Wang Rui's boyfriend and classmates are here. Zyra King also stood up and said she was reminding Su Weifeng of the identities of these people. Su Weifeng and the two beauties came out of the coffee shop and saw Wang Rui excitedly throwing herself into the arms of the young man. No need to ask, this is a Shen Zhao. 999 flowers, do you want to be so romantic, Mr. Shen? Zyra King said with a smile. This is my love for my Ruru. I originally wanted 9,999 flowers, but the flower shop owner said that was too many and couldn't pack them, so I had to buy 999. The young man pretended to be disappointed. Only then did Su Weifeng see the young man's appearance clearly. The young man was about 1.75 meters tall, with curly hair and a proud face. He had the typical temperament of a rich second generation. This was the young master Shen Zhao. Shen Zhao also noticed Su Weifeng and looked at Wang Rui in confusion. Ruru, who is this? Shen Zhao asked in confusion. This is Zyra King's friend. Wang Rui said to Shen Zhao. Zyra King brought a friend? Shen Zhao frowned and said unhappily. He was the best friend of the young master son, and the young master son was pursuing Zyra King. Isn't this a love rival of brothers? Isn't this my friend? Zyra King said depressedly, and didn't know how to explain it. The matter involving Grandpa's internal injuries was a secret, and could not be mentioned outside. Wang Rui saw that her boyfriend wanted to talk, so she pinched him secretly, and then whispered a few words in his ear. Only then did Shen Zhao laugh, as if he had realized it. Humph, he has established a relationship with Zyra King's grandfather, and wants to take the opportunity to pursue Zyra King. He has a good plan. Today, I will let you have a good time, Shen Zhao thought in his heart, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Hello, my name is Shen Zhao. My family is from the Shen family in Z City in China. We also have a hotel in Jialan. I wonder what kind of background does a friend have to pursue our Miss King? Shen Zhao stretched out his hand and deliberately said loudly, Wang are you? I had just told him that this man was just a poor boy who had just arrived in K country and had no background at all. Shen Zhao deliberately reported his background, one to use his background to pressure Su Weifeng, and the other to let Su Weifeng tell his background, and then others would compare it with his own background, making him lose face. However, Su Weifeng had no time to guess Shen Zhao's thoughts. He shook his hand gently and said, Su Weifeng. These few simple words, without any extra words, made Shen Zhao feel that he was despised. Didn't this kid give him face? He introduced so many things, but he just said a name. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Friend, this is a bit rude. Shen Zhao looked at Su Weifeng with a bad look. Today is Ruru's birthday. Everyone, please don't ruin the atmosphere. Xia King saw that Shen Zhao and Su Weifeng were on the verge of a fight. If they let it go on, they would have to fight. She wanted Su Weifeng to retreat, but she just wanted him to know his status and position with these friends, and to know the gap, instead of solving it by force. If Su Weifeng really made any mistakes, Grandpa would definitely blame himself. Haha, just kidding. Today is Aruru's birthday. Everyone has to have fun. Today we will fight until dawn. Shen Zhao shouted. Okay, fight until dawn, don't go home until you're drunk. The young men and women shouted loudly, looking very excited. What are your plans for today, husband? Wang are you? I hugged Shen Zhao's arm and said coquettishly. It's still early now. Let's go sing first, and then go to our hotel for dinner. Don't leave at night. Let's have fun in the presidential suite. Shen Zhao raised his right hand and looked around, shouting to everyone. Okay, I haven't been to the presidential suite yet. Thank you, Mr. Shen. Young people like to be lively, and they are very excited to see that Shen Zhao's arrangements are perfect. Today, Mr. Shen pays for everything, because he is the boyfriend of the birthday girl, and everyone just needs to have fun. Husband, you are so nice. Wang Yui was also very satisfied with her boyfriend's arrangements, and the most important thing was that she gained face in front of her friends, and excitedly kissed Shen Zhao on the face. Chapter 848 Emperor KTV. Where shall we go to sing? Asked a young man. His name was Ma Fei. He was also a rich second generation. His family was in the building materials business. Since we are at the Royal Plaza, let's go to Emperor KTV. This KTV is worthy of the status of all the students. Shen Zhao said with a smile. The students were very happy to hear what Shen Zhao said. Emperor KTV is also the most luxurious KTV in the central area. Those who can enter here are either rich or noble. Even if you have money and want to go, you may not be able to enter. This KTV does not accept individual customers. Only those with membership cards can go in and consume. If you want a membership card there, it depends on whether your background and qualifications are sufficient. Many of these students came by car. Everyone came to the parking lot and formed teams to get in the car. Su Weifeng obviously didn't know which car he was going to get in. Normally, he came with King, so he had to ride in the same car with King, but King was sitting in Shen Zhao's Porsche. At this time, there were 4 people sitting in the Porsche, which was not spacious. Shen Zhao sat in the driver's seat, and Wang Yui sat in the co-pilot seat. Xia King and Xia Bing sat in the back row. Xia King also noticed that Su Weifeng was a little confused, and she felt a little sorry for him, so she wanted to speak. After thinking about it, she still didn't speak. She knew that everyone treated Su Weifeng like this for her own sake, to make him give up. Thinking about the hateful face of the bit of pity in her heart disappeared. Su Weifeng found a BMW at random, and just opened the door. He heard Ma Fei say, "Sorry, buddy, I'm full." Su Weifeng looked at Ma Fei, and then looked at the BMW with only 2 people sitting in it. He frowned and got angry. Everyone noticed this scene, and many people were pointing and talking. They also knew that this man followed King shamelessly, and his family had no power and influence. He was really a toad wanting to eat swan meat. Moreover, he had just had a conflict with Shen Zhao. Shen Zhao was the sponsor of tonight. Who would offend the sponsor for him? Everyone was watching his joke. Come over here, let's squeeze in. A heavenly female voice came. It was Xia Bing who spoke. At this time, this icy beauty waved to Su Weifeng and moved her body towards Xia King. Su Weifeng was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that it was this girl who came to his rescue at this time. He and she were a little bit. And didn't she always glare at him and call him a pervert? Women are really hard to understand, Su Weifeng thought to himself, but still walked towards Shen Zhao's Porsche. Bing bing, what are you doing? Are you attracted to this boy? Wang are you? I said with some dissatisfaction. Everyone squeezed out this poor boy together, and now the effect is so good. Maybe he will run away in disgrace soon. And Xia Bing took the initiative to help. Before Xia Bing could speak, Su Weifeng had already opened the car door and sat in. Shen Zhao frowned, looking very dissatisfied, but since it was Xia Bing who asked, he had to give her some face. Xia Bing was also a member of the family and a great beauty. If he didn't let this boy come up, it would be very ungraceful. Xia King and Xia Bing were sitting in the back row, which was quite spacious. As soon as Su Weifeng came up, it was a bit crowded. Su Weifeng was already close to Xia Bing. In this season, everyone was not wearing much, so it was inevitable that there would be some skin contact. What a nice smell, Su Weifeng said subconsciously. At this time, he and Xia Bing were close together, and a fresh fragrance entered Su Weifeng's nose. This was not some expensive perfume, but the body fragrance of a girl. Rogue. Xia Bing was uncomfortable being squeezed together with a man. Hearing Su Weifeng say this, she wanted to kick him down. Now she regretted it a little. What was wrong with her just now? Why did she want him to come up? But this was her own fault and she couldn't blame anyone else. She pinched Su Weifeng's thigh hard. Ouch. Su Weifeng cried out in pain and rubbed the pinched area vigorously. I say, can you two stop flirting? Xia King was right beside and saw Xia Bing's little move clearly. Now she was a little confused. Did Xia Bing have nothing to do with this liar? She felt more and more that there was something going on between them. King, the man you brought, is really a pervert. He flirted with King in front of you. Wang are you? I hated this man more and more. At first, she thought he was just thinking about King, but after a while, he even flirted with Bing Bing. I have nothing to do with him, Xia Bing said hurriedly, and at the same time, moved her body to get away from this man, but she was helpless, because there was some space, and she still couldn't leave Su Weifeng's body. That's what I wanted to say. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes. Humph. Xia Bing snorted coldly, and ignored Su Weifeng. Xia King frowned at this time, and didn't say anything, but she was thinking in her heart, what exactly did this liar have to do with Bing Bing, and she must find a way to get him away, and out of her circle of life. Shen Zhao didn't say anything this time, but he was full of anger. He stepped on the accelerator and the Porsche rushed out with a roar. The students behind him also rushed out one by one. A small convoy went straight to the Emperor KTV. The group soon arrived at the door of the Emperor KTV. As soon as they arrived at the door, a doorman came to help park the car. Hello, brother Shen. Shen Zhao was also a frequent visitor here. The doorman knew him and said flatteringly, the car is very good. It's your benefit. Shen Zhao said proudly. Thank you, brother Shen. Thank you, brother Shen. The doorman said excitedly. He knew that the tip of this rich second generation was indispensable. A group of young people walked into the hall happily. Su Weifeng looked at the environment here. The whole architectural style is European style, and the main color is gold. It looks magnificent. It really has the style of an emperor's palace. No wonder it is called Emperor KTV. As soon as he came in, the lobby manager came to greet him. He was a slightly fat middle-aged man, and he walked towards Shen Zhao with a smile on his face. Young Master Shen, welcome, welcome. I haven't come to play for a while recently, the lobby manager said with a smile. Aren't you busy with schoolwork? I've been busy studying recently, Shen Zhao said with a smile. The lobby manager was disdainful in his heart. You can still study. What else can you do as a rich young master, except spending money to pick up girls every day? But this can only be thought of in his heart. In fact, he envied these young masters and young ladies to death. If he was also a rich second generation, would he have to look at your faces here? Today is my girlfriend's birthday. Manager ZHU arranged an emperor room for us, Shen Zhao said generously. This Emperor room is the best private room in the Emperor KTV. There is only one room, which can show the status of the Emperor room. Shen Zhao rarely goes to the Emperor room. Today is his girlfriend's birthday, and there are so many classmates, so this face must be earned. The Emperor room is already occupied. Young Master Shen, can you see the prince's room? The lobby manager said with some embarrassment. Chapter 849 Zai Bing held hands. Someone's already here? Shen Zhao frowned, feeling a little unhappy, but he didn't get angry. Those who can decide the Emperor's room are not ordinary people. It's better not to mess with such people. Who knows what their background is? If their background is stronger than mine, it will be troublesome. Husband, the prince's room is also good. Wang Yui didn't want to embarrass her boyfriend, so she said hurriedly. Okay, then let's go to the prince's room. Shen Zhao had a way out and said hurriedly. Fortunately, his girlfriend had spoken, otherwise he would have said it out, and his face would definitely be bad. The private room in the prince's room is very spacious. A group of men and women came in, and it still seemed very spacious. Shen Zhao directly ordered a bunch of wine and fruit plates, and specially ordered 2 bottles of AT Lafite. Originally, this KTV was not suitable for drinking red wine, but today was his girlfriend's birthday, and it always felt a little lacking in atmosphere without some red wine. Su Weifeng smiled, and shook his head. This was just the beginning. Now 100,000 was not enough. In the end, it was still unknown how much they would spend. They were just students. Seeing that young Master Shen had spent a lot of money today, the lobby manager was overjoyed. This month's bonus would be much higher. Soon, the drinks came up. The girls rushed to sing, while the boys gathered in groups of 3 or 5 to drink and talk. Those with girlfriends naturally stayed together. Only Su Weifeng sat alone in the corner. No one asked him to sing, and no one drank with him. He seemed like an outsider, watching these men and women drinking by themselves. Su Weifeng took a bottle of German beer and drank slowly. He had drunk all kinds of good wine. Now he was not in the mood to drink, so he just took a bottle of beer as a drink. His eyes were always on Xia King and Xia Bing. Xia King was his protection target tonight. This was also promised to Mr. Han. He was now looking forward to the group of young people finishing quickly, so that he could complete his mission and go home to sleep. But it seemed that it would not be over in a short time. He couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. He had to jump into the pit he dug with tears in his eyes. Several young men were surrounding Xia King and Xia Bing, and they were obviously interested in these 2 beauties. Xia King was chatting and laughing with them freely, and she was very proud. The girls still enjoyed the feeling of being pursued, and a sense of superiority arose spontaneously. Xia Bing obviously didn't like being surrounded by these people. She had a cold face for the men who were courting her. Su Weifeng then realized that this iceberg beauty was not only cold to him, but also to all men. Could it be that there was something wrong with her sexual orientation? Su Weifeng was thinking wildly in his heart. Xia Bing suddenly looked at Su Weifeng. She noticed the gaze from Su Weifeng. Her face twisted, and she stood up and walked towards Su Weifeng and sat down next to Su Weifeng. Xia King frowned and looked at Bing Bing. She was very unhappy, but she didn't say anything. If her best friend really fell in love with that liar, she really couldn't say anything. This was a matter between 2 people. If Bing Bing was with someone else, she wouldn't care, but if it was this liar, she wouldn't care. She had to keep an eye on him. What are you planning? I advise you not to plan against me. Don't tell anyone about what happened on the plane. Xia Bing looked at Su Weifeng and said in a low voice. In fact, she didn't mean to say it in a low voice, but in this KTV room, as long as you don't shout, you will be talking in a low voice. What happened on the plane? Su Weifeng said with a smile. He still had some good feelings for Xia Bing. At least she was not as snobbish as Wang Yui. You pervert. Xia Bing was angry. She was angry when she thought about the plane. She was taken advantage of by this pervert. Although Xia Bing secretly hated this pervert for always taking advantage of her, she was also a common person on the plane. In fact, she didn't hate Su Weifeng in her heart. But this pervert still mentioned this matter. Thinking of Xia Bing, she gritted her teeth and stretched out her hand to grab Su Weifeng's waist. Su Weifeng saw this and hurriedly grabbed Xia Bing's hand. He couldn't let her pinch him casually. This time it really hurt. Xia King and the others were chatting happily when suddenly everyone's eyes turned to Su Weifeng and Xia Bing with their eyes wide open and an expression of disbelief in their eyes. Xia Bing and Su Weifeng were holding hands at this time, and the two were hiding in a corner. This was really a heavy bomb, adding another topic to the students, who were eating melons, but the mood of the men who pursued Xia Bing was not so beautiful. They glared at Su Weifeng and wanted to eat him. This boy was brought by Xia King, and it was said that his family conditions were average, and he had no background. How could he hook up with the beautiful Xia in such a short time? Xia Bing was their goddess, and she never smiled at them. Today, she saw her holding hands with a poor boy, and she wanted to tear Su Weifeng to pieces. Bing Bing. Wang Yui opened her mouth and called out. Xia Bing turned back subconsciously and found that the eyes of the classmates were focused on herself and Su Weifeng. Her face suddenly became hot, and she immediately withdrew her hand. Xia Bing got up and went back to Xia King. Su Weifeng was still drinking beer by himself, as if nothing had happened. However, his hand was quite soft, not as cold as her face. Bing Bing, this guy's a loser. You can't be with him. You have no future. Wang Yui frowned and said. Bing Bing, he is a liar. Don't be fooled by his sweet words. There are too many men like this now. They have no strength at all. They rely on sweet words to cheat girls for money and lust for them. Moreover, they are playing with multiple women. Xia King was even more angry and despised the behavior of this liar. Who said I want to be with him? We have nothing. Xia Bing explained hurriedly, but her explanation seemed a little weak. Xia King and the others obviously didn't believe it. At this time, the door of the private room was pushed open, and a woman who was less than 30 years old, wearing a red dress and holding a weapon pushed the door open and walked in. Although this woman was not old, she was elegant and noble, completely different from the immature girls, like Xia King and Wang Yui. A group of young people looked at this woman in confusion, not knowing what was going on, but Shen Zhao went up to her, as if he knew this person. It turned out that this woman was the owner of this Emperor KTV, Sister Chen, whose full name was Chen Yuan. Sister Chen also knew this young Master Shen, and knew that he often came to spend money, and today he spent a lot of money, so she came over to toast everyone. After listening to Shen Zhao's introduction, the classmates also knew that Sister Chen was the owner of this emperor, and they all stood up. This emperor is not an ordinary KTV, it has a deep background, and Sister Chen is the owner of the emperor, so it goes without saying that this status and position, although these boys and girls have good family conditions, they still have no chance to come into contact with people like the boss of the emperor. Chapter 850 The Boss Behind the Scenes. Sister Chen toasted everyone one by one. Although she only raised her glass to indicate, everyone felt that she was quite honored. This was also due to the influence of Mr. Shen, who looked even more proud. When it was Su Weifeng's turn, Su Weifeng also raised his glass. Although he didn't know any Sister Chen, and didn't care who she was, he still had to deal with someone who came to toast. Unexpectedly, Mr. Shen stopped Sister Chen directly, and told her not to toast Su Weifeng. Sister Chen was also a smart person. She immediately understood that this small circle was not united, and this man was obviously isolated. Sister Chen came just to give face to Mr. Shen, a big customer. As for the things in these people, she was too lazy to know. Seeing that Mr. Shen stopped her, she smiled slightly, said goodbye to everyone, and left the private room directly. Su Weifeng sneered and looked at Shen Zhao, who was looking at him proudly there, as if he was looking at a jumping clown. I heard that the boss of this Taheo is not Sister Chen. Sister Chen is just the boss in public, and Sister Chen is the boss's woman. Ma Fei suddenly said mysteriously. The young men and women immediately became interested and gathered around Ma Fei, ready to listen to his next words. Ma Fei was very proud to see that everyone's attention was focused on him. Don't keep us in suspense, tell us quickly. Wang Yui stamped her feet and said she had never heard of this Sister Chen. Shen Zhao smiled and looked at everyone. He knew, but he didn't say anything, but waited for Ma Fei to tell him. This Sister Chen was not an ordinary person. If he said it himself, the effect would be worse, but it would be more impactful if it came from someone else's mouth. The stronger the background of Sister Chen, the more face he, Mr. Shen, would have. Old Ma, tell us quickly. The other students also shouted anxiously. Seeing that everyone's appetite was aroused, Ma Fei said mysteriously, "Do you know Xiangyi?" Ma Fei said, "Which Xiangyi? Is it the bear in the bear?" Xiao King said puzzledly, "Keep your voice down. Keep your voice down. Beautiful King. Don't say anything casually. If Xiangyi's people hear us, we will be in trouble. You know the Chinatown in the east of Galan, right?" Ma Fei said. The classmates nodded one after another. Who doesn't know about Chinatown? The area where these international students have been active the longest is there. Do you know what the underground gangs in Chinatown are? Ma Fei continued in a low voice. The classmates were infected by his tone and did not dare to speak loudly. "I only know the Beast Gang." Wang Yui thought for a while and said, "That's right. This Xiangyi is the boss of the Beast Gang. Wang Xiang, also known as Beast King Xiangyi." Ma Fei said. Everyone still didn't understand why the boss of the Chinatown gang was mentioned. Could it be that some people with quick minds have already thought of a possibility? Stupid, don't you understand? This Sister Chen is the woman of Beast King Xiangyi and the real boss of this Emperor KTV. Ma Fei saw that these classmates were still staring at him blankly and he couldn't help but said angrily. At this time, everyone realized that the Chinatown boss was a big shot. Even Shen Zhao's father couldn't afford to offend him. There were also a few family members among these young people, but that was in China. When they came to a foreign country, they had to be coiled like a dragon and a crouching tiger like a tiger. Even Shen Zhao's father came to Galan to open a hotel, which was just a business. Ordinary people might give the Shen family some face, but Xiangyi wouldn't. The Shen family in Galan was simply not comparable to him. And just now, it was the woman of this powerful boss who came to toast everyone, and they immediately felt very proud, enough for them to brag for a while. "We are relying on the light of Mr. Shen, otherwise how could Mr. Xiang's woman come to toast us?" Ma Fei shouted at Shen Zhao. "Come on, let's toast Mr. Shen." Someone shouted, "Yes, Mr. Shen, toast to you." The classmates toasted Mr. Shen one after another, and Mr. Shen was very satisfied. Looking at his girlfriend's admiring eyes, he was even more proud. "My husband is still amazing. Mr. Xiang's women have to toast my husband." Wang Yui said proudly with her chin raised. "Boy, what do you think? You don't have enough face for Sister Chen to toast you." Shen Zhao looked at Su Weifeng again, full of provocation. No matter whether this boy didn't give him face just now, or hooked up with Zibing, he had offended young Master Shen. Now he spared no effort to ridicule and tear his face. "Who is Sister Chen? Do I need her to toast me?" Su Weifeng picked up the beer, drank a sip by himself, and said disdainfully. Yu Shenzhao was so angry that his head was about to smoke. He regarded Sister Chen's toast to him as a capital to show off, but this boy's tone was very disdainful, which was digging his face again. "You are very arrogant. Let me see what qualifications you have to be arrogant." Shenzhao ran to Su Weifeng in one step, and it seemed that he was going to fight. But there were so many people present, how could they fight? They were directly pulled apart by the crowd. Shenzhao glared at Su Weifeng and was still saying harsh words, but Su Weifeng just sneered at him and didn't care at all. "You should leave Galan quickly. The Shen family has great power in Galan and will definitely not let you go," Zibing said to Su Weifeng in a low voice with a worried look on her face. "Really? I want to see how he won't let me go," Su Weifeng said with a smile. He was too familiar with this kind of lines. In the end, they were all sponsors who gave him money. He liked this kind of people the most. The more the better. Pulling Shenzhao away, the classmates started playing again, and soon it was evening. "Let's move on to the next game. The dinner will start at my 5-star hotel." Shenzhao looked at the watch and saw that the time was almost up. He jumped onto the table, raised his arms, and shouted with a microphone in his hand. Suddenly, there was a burst of booing from boys and laughter from girls below. At this time, everyone was a little hungry. "Wait a minute, Ma Fei and Ting Ting haven't come back yet," a girl shouted. At this time, someone remembered that the two seemed to have gone to the bathroom. Ting Ting was also a beauty. She was also the object of Ma Fei's pursuit. Seeing that Ting Ting was going to the bathroom, Ma Fei took the initiative to stand up and protect her. At this time, in the bathroom, a beautiful girl in a slim short skirt had just finished using the bathroom and was washing her hands when suddenly a big hand grabbed her butt and squeezed it hard. Ah! The girl screamed and slapped the fat black man in front of her. She looked at the man in front of her in horror. He was a middle-aged man who was dark and fat. His face was shiny and shiny. He looked at her with lustful eyes and stared at her chest. "You stinky girl, you dare to hit me. I will kill you today," the fat black man said as he grabbed the girl. This girl was Ting Ting, the person Shen Zhao and others were waiting for in the private room. The girl screamed in fear. Suddenly, a young man rushed in from outside and punched the fat black man, knocking him to the ground. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.